I live right by Newton Field here. We probably had, I don't know, 4 to 5 inches of rain yesterday, and then it also rained today. So this is a soggy, wet surface here at Newton Field. I think they've done a marvelous job getting the field ready as best they could, considering the significant amount of rain we've had in the last 24 hours. But potentially, yes, a fast team prefers a dry field turf, and maybe more of a smash mouth team like Hudson. It might play to their advantage. We're going to have to see, but this is the last grass field left in the Big Rivers Conference, with River Falls going to field turf this year with the renovation of Raymer Field over there. So any advantage you can have as the home team. And Hudson's coming into this game in what I feel is one of the most enviable positions to be in sports, and that's the home field underdog. There's something about that as a motivational tool to defending your home territory against the favorite, against the visitor who coming in as a favorite. We've talked about the rivalry between these two teams. We've talked about the importance this game holds for Hudson, and it's all about how these players are going to react tonight to try to bring home this important homecoming win.
Yeah, and you can see right where kind of the players were meeting as they're coming through the tunnel there. That's a pretty nasty-looking wet spot over there. There's already some mud coming up, and that's from warm-ups. And I think we're going to see some real muddy-looking white pants here by the time we get to the end of the football game tonight. It's going to be a fun one, and hopefully the Hudson Raiders tonight can come out on top for homecoming. And Rice Lake has certainly stolen a couple games from Hudson over the past few years. It'd be nice to steal one from them tonight.
Well, when last these two teams played at Newton Field, it ended up being an overtime win, and Hudson was on the tail end of then 20, what amounted to be a 20-game winning streak here at Newton Field, and that was probably their biggest challenge during that 20-game winning streak, was that overtime win against Rice Lake some 2 years ago. So here we go. It's got a good crowd tonight, and the rain seems to have been letting off a little bit. And we want to remind our viewers, we'd love to hear from you. You can email into our broadcast. Very easy to do. Click on the Email Us link on your game tracker screen. Let us know who you are, where you're listening from, who you're cheering for tonight. Some of you are also tuning in from Hudsonite.com, the new news website. Michael Foley here in Hudson, and also on the River Channel, watching delayed here in Hudson.
Rice Lake kicks it off. It's a very low kick. It's going to be fielded by one of the up men, and the Raiders will start. Looks like that was Dayton Demel down there. It was. They will start this drive with pretty good field position at around the 34-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10 for Hudson at the 34.
Well, Josh Somerville subbed out in the fourth quarter at quarterback, relieving Charlie Richards against Menominee last week. And, you're wondering, is he going to see some action? Is Richards going to play the whole game? Are they going to do some kind of platoon? We'll have to see. Charlie Richards out there now.
Richards gets the start, and he will go under center, 1st and 10 from the 34 for Hudson. And they will give it to Demel, and Demel doesn't get much, maybe about a yard there in 1st down. And it'll be 2nd and 8 coming up for Hudson.
Want to say hello to James Gadel, emailing in, says the Hawkeye Challenge, Coastal Carolina and Iowa City, Iowa. I'm not sure how that's relevant here, but James, thanks for emailing in.
If it's football, we love it.
That's right.
Richards back under center, Demel behind him, and Nick Holm to the side. And this time they will give, actually that was Holm right behind him, and Richards going to keep it for another 2, setting up a 3rd down and 6 for Hudson.
Well, Charlie Richards, they've ran him in kind of that read option this year with good success sometimes and not so good others. Menominee really shut that down last week, and I think that's one of the challenges, is to be able to consistently get 4, 5, 6 yards out of that quarterback keeper, that option play.
Nice spot for the Raiders. They get 3 out of the run, and Richards tries to get Rice Lake to jump off sides, and he has. The Raiders should get a free 5, but I think they're going to be just a few inches short of the 1st down. See the call here, and it will be encroachment on Rice Lake. Should be about a 3rd and inches here coming up for Hudson, and that's a trick that the Raiders have had a lot of success with over the years. And this year when I was here for the Superior game, looks like they're going to give them the 1st down, actually. It'll be 1st and 10 for Hudson on the penalty.
And you're absolutely right, Chris. That's a hard count. And to those of you who don't know exactly what that is, it's basically varying the cadence of your snap count with the intention of trying to draw the defense off sides.
Fresh set of downs for Hudson, and they will give it to Demo once again. Demo powers through some Rice Lake defenders. He's going to pick up 5 or 6 on first down, and that's what Hudson needs to do. You got to keep this Rice Lake offense off the field. You do it by picking it up 5 and 6 yards. If you start going 3 and out on this Rice Lake team, that scoreboard's going to get lit up real quick.
Absolutely. It's about consistently getting the first downs, running the clock, playing ball control offense. That's the best defense against a high-powered offense, is to keep the offense off the field.
So Raiders running some clock here. 2nd down and 5 as the Hudson Raiders get to midfield on their opening possession. They'll give it to Nick Holm this time, and Holm's going to be close to a first down. Flag coming in there late. Let's see what it is.
For the Raiders, it's been a pretty good punch with Demel and Holmes so far this year, although the offensive line play, I think, really could stand to improve, and that's the big challenge for those guys in the trenches tonight, is to open up the holes.
Penalty is going to be on Rice Lake. Pick up a 4 for Nick Holm, and they'll tack on the penalty.
I want to say hello to Jim Kobelush, and he says, "Go Warriors," listening in Scottsdale, Arizona tonight. Jim, thank you for tuning in. Gary Knutson, listening in from New Richmond, cheering on the Raiders. Gary, thank you for the email, tuning in. Holden Tim, I remember him from a few years ago. Holden Tim here listening from Menominee, hoping the Raiders can win tonight. And he says Raider Nation. That's former Raider Holden Tim.
He's got a UW Stout email address, so going to school just down the road. Charlie Richards picks up that extra 15 on the penalty, and now the Hudson Raiders with a 1st and 10 deep into Rice Lake territory. They'll give it to Holm on the option. Not much, kind of ran out of room. They ran that option to the right side, short side of the field, and not a lot of room to operate over there. Holm gets back to the line of scrimmage, and that's going to be about it.
23 games on the MSBN Sports Network tonight, including another Big Rivers Conference matchup. The battle for Eau Claire rages on to the east. Eau Claire North and Eau Claire Memorial from Carson Park. We have live video coverage of that on MSBN tonight.
Yeah, very cool to see you guys branching out into Wisconsin and covering some games quite a ways east of Minnesota.
Yeah. We're over to this good side of the border, right?
Richards sets up 2nd down and a long 9. Looking to pass, nothing going there. He's going to tuck it in and go. He's got a blocker, gets across the 30 down to the 25-yard line. Going to be a pickup of around 6, and it'll set up a very manageable 3rd down here for the Raiders. Going to be about a 3rd down and 5 coming up for Hudson.
Well, the Raiders really have not, in their thus far this season, have not been able to consistently develop a passing game. Yeah, Richards went back to pass that time. Nobody was open, was able to tuck it under and have a nice scramble for a decent gain, setting up a manageable 3rd and 4.
It's like Nick Holm and Demel in the backfield, 2 receivers to the left side. Richards taking his time. Resets the offense. And now we've got a timeout by Hudson. Looked like there was some confusion. Richards looked to set up to go and then looked over at the sideline and then reset, and then we ended up with a timeout.
So just taking a quick look at the MSBN scoreboard tonight. In a game on earlier tonight, the SMB Wolfpack, that's a cooperative program between the Blake School and St. Paul Academy and Minnehaha Academy, knocked off a 3-1 Minneapolis South Tiger team, 42-6. You also got, as we mentioned, the Eau Claire North and Eau Claire Memorial Old Abe's playing over at Carson Park, and a host of other Wisconsin games as well as Minnesota games. 23 games all in all on the network tonight. Also want to invite our viewers. You can email in. Had some nice emails already yet, and love to hear from you. Click on the Email Us link on your Game Tracker screen. Let us know who you are, where you're listening from, who you're cheering for tonight, wherever you're tuning in, whether it's locally or abroad. Or I know some establishments in town running the game tonight. If you're there enjoying yourself, welcome aboard.
Enjoy your company as well. Not just yourself.
Right. Enjoy your surroundings.
Enjoy your surroundings. 3rd down and a short 5 coming up for the Hudson Raiders. Looks like Joe Gallardi there on the left side along with Sam Carney. Diemel and Holm in the backfield. They're going to give it to Diemel, and he's going to be short of the first down. Looks like he's going to get about 3 yards. I think he's going to set up a 4th down and 1, and this is definite 4-down territory for the Hudson Raiders.
Well, Coach Adam Cowles, in the years that I've seen him, he rolls the dice time and again. And if you're, especially if you're on your opponent's side of the field, and if it's within 4 yards, he goes for it probably 90% of the time, something like that.
Christian Bell's got a nice leg, but with these field conditions, I think in this spot on the field, certainly not going to punt it. So it's definitely a go for it on 4th. Richards with Diemel behind him. Takes a look back over to the sideline, and they'll reset.
Yep.
And the Raiders are going to get called, I believe, for delay of game.
These are the kind of penalties, the kind of mistakes that are hurting Hudson. This is part of the reason, quite frankly, why they're 0-3. False starts, delay a game, 12 men on, just these mistakes that you haven't seen this Hudson team do in the last 4 years when they've had this tremendous record. But they're really struggling with stuff like that, and now that changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah, you're one play out of a timeout, and as a quarterback, you have to be looking at that back judge. He's right in front of you, and you're watching his hand, and that was just a mistake. Took a 4th and 1 to a 4th and 6, which is obviously much more difficult to pick up. Richards is going to be – ball comes loose, and Rice Lake, it looks like they have it, and I really don't think it matters because he was short anyway. It's going to be Rice Lake football.
And while they sorted out, Chris, it looked like he was going out on a rollout. Nobody was open. As he did a couple plays earlier, just tucked it in and tried to make it on his own. But
they're going to give it to him because the football went out of bounds.
Wow.
Before Rice Lake was able to get control of the football goes out of bounds. It was last controlled by the Raiders, and where it went out of bounds was past the first down marker.
They must have made it by half a football there. And remember, you can't fumble ahead. So he must have just made it a good break for the Hudson Raiders, and they got a drive going here and inside the red zone, trying to draw first blood tonight.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and in that situation, I think Richards was both. It would have been nice if they would have had the 4th and 1. It would have had it easily, but picked up 5 yards and got a fortunate bounce, and now they will hand it off to Diemel once again. Diemel with a nice pickup on first down, going to be a pickup of around 6 for Dayton Diemel, down inside the 15-yard line of Rice Lake.
And another big key for Hudson tonight, and Diemel's had flashes here and there, but he had such a good junior season last year, and I think it also comes into some average line play that hopefully will get better tonight. But if you can consistently get Dayton Diemel 4, 5, 6 yards a crack, you're good to go.
It really helps if you can throw the football, too.
And
it's tougher to run if you can't throw the football. There's really no threat here. From what I've seen here so far, the Raiders, they're not a team that's going to stretch the field, so the defense can bring a couple extra guys up. And Richards is going to keep it himself. Now he'll kick it out to Holm, and Holm's going to be inside the 10, and it's going to be close to a first down to around the 9-yard line. It's going to depend on the spot here, but real close to a first down. I think he's going to be just a hair short. It's going to be 3rd down and about a foot coming up for the Hudson Raiders.
Nice pitch play there. Talk about how they, 9 men in the box or whatever it is, Rice Lake. That's the way to counter that if you can't go through the air. Are these pitch plays out to the flat, and good run.
Richards back under center. They'll give it to Diemel up the middle. Diemel into the end zone. Touchdown Raiders. Dayton Diemel from 9 yards out on 3rd down and inches. Hits the end zone, and the Hudson Raiders take a 6-0 lead over the Rice Lake Warriors.
Well, the senior captain Diemel, we talked about it. He's the key cog in this Raider offense, and he's had some struggles against Menominee, but was really featured on that drive. They were very fortunate to pick up that first down, and they capitalized on it. And that's something the Raiders have also struggled to do. They've been getting inside the red zone, but they haven't been coming away with points. Touchdown Raiders are on the board first.
And we talked about taking up and eating up that clock. The Raiders take on almost 6 minutes of clock in that drive. And if you can keep the Rice Lake Warrior offense on the sideline, they can't score any points. Richards gets the ball down, and the kick is up by Christian Bell, and good. And the Hudson Raiders take a 7-0 lead with 6:03 left in the first quarter here.
We're going to go into the MSBN email bag tonight as Hudson pulls ahead against this strong Rice Lake team. Greg Beusted It says, watching the Warriors from Iwa Beach, Hawaii, Maleho. So, Greg, thank you for tuning in. That sounds awful nice. Scott Rubin emailing in, cheering from the Raiders from North Hudson. He says, go Raiders, go. That one coming in from Scott Rubin. Also want to say hello to Jim Habas. Says, thanks for the broadcast. Jim, thank you for tuning in. Looks like we've got our first score update coming in. Chippewa Falls, a very strong Chippewa Falls team, an undefeated team, already up 14-0 over a River Falls Wildcats team that's really having their struggles this year.
Yeah, I'm a River Falls, not a native, but I've been living there now for 8 years and working on that youth program. I'm a head coach in the first and second graders right now. But that's a program that this year is just going to have a tough time. For some reason, they really thought they were going to have a pretty good season this year, but it just has pretty much fell flat. I do hear good things from the 8th grade squad, though. I heard the big win over Hudson a few weeks ago, I believe. But so things are looking up for River Falls. Not that the Hudson audience really cares.
Well, one of the things when you've been down for a while, and you got the jug game, the jug game between Hudson and River Falls, and Hudson has really dominated that in recent years. But it is a rivalry game, and River Falls, has had traditionally some good years, a strong program. Hopefully they'll get back on their feet.
Pierre and Seacrest back to receive a Christian Bell kick, and Bell can boot it down there. Oh, and they will do a squib kick here as well. Try to keep the football away. Looks like Pierre is going to pick it up, and the Raider coverage team, Johnny on the spot there, take down Pierre at around the 23-yard line. Will be 1st and 10 for this high-powered Rice Lake offense, and we'll see our Hudson Raider defense for the first time this evening. And by the way, Greg Bukestad in Hawaii, that's just not right.
I have never been to Hawaii. The family has. I understand it's very lovely. But you know what? Hudson, Wisconsin is pretty lovely, too. Not tonight. But
there's some rain, but it's really just a beautiful evening. Yeah, you can put on a rain jacket. So Rice Lake will start an offense, and they are going to go to Seacrest. Raiders wrapping them up and pulling them down. There is a flag down on the far side of the field in the area of probably a man lined up in the neutral zone, but let's see what the call is. Well, nope, it's going to be false start on Rice Lake.
It's nice to see another team have a fall. I swear I'd have to go back and watch the archive, which you can do on the MSBN Sports Network. Everything we've done is archived, almost 13,000. But we must have had half a dozen false starts last week against Menominee.
And that's going to hurt you. And we talked about that in the pregame, the Raiders with those penalties. But so far tonight, it's been Rice Lake with 3 penalties and the Hudson Raiders so far without a penalty. So it'll be first down at about 13. The penalty backs them up. Apparently, it's kind of a weird, it was a false start. It should be 1st and 15, at least that's the way I thought it was.
Well, while they sort it out, we want to say hello to Mark Dolan. He says, go Raiders. Captain John Dolan, class of 2006 at Scott Air Force Base. And I know Mark's mom, Adele. We go to the same church, a Methodist church here in Hudson. So
they got it straightened out now. So 1st and 15 as quarterback Hunter Ashland gets under center with Pierre behind him and Dylan Roberts going in motion.
Looks like they may be audibling here.
Raiders did a nice job of handling Seacrest there on that first play. And now they're going to pitch it out to Roberts. Roberts around the right side. He's got some room and is going to get back that penalty yardage and a little bit more. Gain of around, call it about 8 yards. Going to set up 2nd down and a long 7 for Rice Lake.
In the Battle of Eau Claire North, who hasn't beat Eau Claire Memorial in I don't know how many years, has the early lead in a game here on the MSBN Sports Network. The Eau Claire North Huskies up 6-0 over the Memorial Old Abe's.
Yeah, Eau Claire North's been one of those programs that has struggled quite a bit over the past years, but really played this Rice Lake team pretty tough last week. We'll get into that in just a second as Rice Lake will give it to Seacrest. And once again, the Raiders, the nice defensive play. Motu over there on the tackle, and Seacrest gets nothing on that play. Going to give him about a couple inches there, and that's about it.
Well, Xander Motu, that's one of his challenges as a linebacker, 6'2", 225-pound senior linebacker. Isaiah Seacrest, I will guarantee you, Chris, was talked about and talked about and talked about in practice this week. We have to shut this guy down. He's the real thing. And nice play by Motu there to do just that.
Here's that third down situation you were talking about earlier, John. 3rd down and 6, and they will give it to Seacrest, and Seacrest slips through some tackles and gets the first down. Gain of around 8, and that will move the chains for Rice Lake.
Seacrest is a nice-looking back. You know, he's second in the Big Rivers Conference in rushing, 600 and some odd yards, almost 700 yards. That's in 4 games, mind you. He's, I believe he's going to North Dakota, if I'm not mistaken, or North Dakota State, but he's got some looks from some big-time programs.
So fresh set of downs here for the Warriors at their own 37-yard line. 1st down and 10. And Ashland's going to keep it himself around the near side of the field. Makes a move on Bell and is going to be knocked out of bounds at around, we're going to call it about the 44-yard line. They'll give him actually the 45. Pickup of 8 for Ashland.
Well, Rice Lake's got a nice drive going here, converted that 3rd down, and that's one of the challenges the Hudson defense is going to have to rise to tonight, is being able to stop Rice Lake on 3rd downs, particularly 3rd and 5 or more. I would call anything more than 5 a 3rd and long. And Rice Lake converted that and getting close to Hudson territory.
2nd down and a short 3 here now from just shy of the 45-yard line. Ashland will go under center with Pierre right behind him. And they'll give it to Pierre. Pierre shakes through a tackle and he's over midfield. It'll be 1st down after a gain of around 7 there. He'll mark the football at the 48-yard line of Hudson.
I like this Pierre, too. He's Allian Pierre, he's only 5'7", 180, senior. Runs with a nice big low center of gravity, got some big shoulders, good-looking bat.
Yeah, he did some damage to the Hudson Raiders last year in that game. And it seems like when we play Rice Lake, it seems like they have kids that play for 8 years. It's like, I've seen that kid before. I don't know if they bring them up when they're sophomores, and these kids play quite a bit. And now they'll pitch it out to Roberts on the right side. Flags fly, and they'll blow this one dead. This is going to be against Rice Lake.
I think they had either 2 men moving or jumped on the line or both. This one's going to, it's a false start.
So we were talking about Eau Claire North just a few minutes ago. Eau Claire North at the end of the 3rd quarter was down 51-44 to this football team. And we're outscored 24-0 in the 4th quarter. But North played with this football team for 3 quarters last week. And I think that's a nice step in the right direction for Eau Claire North, a program that has really, really struggled in the past 15, 20 years.
You're absolutely right, Chris. And if North could somehow find a way to beat Memorial tonight, that would be huge. They won both their non-conference games, lost to Rice Lake and Menominee, and looking to take Memorial down tonight.
And they will give it to the fullback. He doesn't get much work, but gets about a yard there. That is Jake Roberts picking up about a yard. So 2nd down and 14 after the penalty. Roberts doesn't get much of that yardage back. So 2nd and long. This is going to be another opportunity for the Raiders to come up with hopefully a couple of strong defensive plays and get off the field. They missed that opportunity on the last series, and now with a chance here. 2:22 left in the 1st quarter. Hudson Raiders lead it 7-0 over Rice Lake. Ashland under center, Roberts behind him, and they will give it to Seacrest. Seacrest dancing around, and the Hudson Raiders do a nice job, again, of limiting that yardage. Seacrest picked up about 5 on that play, but this is a running back, remember, that's averaging 16 yards per carry. He's a home run hitter for this Rice Lake team, and so far the Hudson Raiders have done a nice job keying in on him and not allowing him to make too much yardage on these runs here so far. It is early, but they've contained him so far. 3rd down and about 8.
They're keying on him, and their linebacker play has been good.
And there's a pass play for Ashland looking downfield, and it's going to be caught downfield by Sam Leiss. Leiss with the catch for the 1st down to around the 21-yard line. And that ball bounced around. Leiss kept his eyes on it, and there were a couple Raider hands in there, but he was able to pull that down. They're going to call it the 22-yard line.
Well, we saw Harlan Arrowhead do that. We saw Menominee do that last week. That's something the defense, Hudson's defense, has to prevent. They are susceptible to the pass.
Ashland back under center, and They're going to give it to Roberts once again. Roberts leaping over the pile, and he's going to pick up about 8 yards there on that carry.
And as we are now in the minute and some change here to go in the first quarter, it's just worthy of note. This Rice Lake team in 4 games has scored 243 points. 70 of those points have come in the first quarter. So so far so good for Hudson, kind of limiting this high-powered offense.
54 seconds left in the first quarter. Again, Hudson leading 7-0, but Rice Lake knocking on the door. They're going to give it to Jake. Actually, Ashland will keep it himself. Shakes through some tackles. He will have the first down and a bit more. A gain of around 7 on that play. Fresh set of downs. It'll be 1st and goal for Rice Lake.
Well, Rice Lake looking to knot this one back up after Hudson struck first. A Dayton Demo touchdown earlier this quarter has put the Raiders up 7-0 here, and Rice Lake looking to match it.
So 1st and goal from the 8-yard line. Rice Lake, I think, sort of getting into the heads of this defense. Right, the Raiders have been able to get them into 3rd and long situations a couple times, and Rice Lake been able to get through it that time. It's Seacrest, and Seacrest wasn't even touched until he hit the goal line. Great blocking around the left side. Touchdown, Rice Lake, and they are within 1 point, an extra point here, of tying this football game up with 23 seconds to go.
Well, that's Isaiah Seacrest, number 2 rushing leader in the Big Rivers Conference, and a nice score there, and Rice Lake's within a PAT of knotting this thing back up at 7.
23 seconds remaining, and Rice Lake looks like they're actually going to go for 2 here. Not interested in the tie. They're going to try to take the lead.
There it is.
Ashland under center. They're going to give, actually Ashland's going to keep it, and I think he's short. Nope, the official signals it's good, and with 23 seconds remaining, Ashland sneaks in and gives the Rice Lake Warriors an 8-7 lead. He got
that just by the nose of the ball. Must have just broke the plane. I thought Hudson had that bottled up. Of course, our angle on that particular play isn't the best, but with that 2-point conversion, Rice Lake pulls ahead.
It was close, but he did make it in, and Rice Lake with their first lead of the evening early on here. Let's take a quick look at the Big River standings as we enter play this evening. Chippewa Falls 2-0 in the conference, along with Rice Lake and Menominee. All 3 teams 4-0 overall. Superior and Eau Claire Memorial both 1-1. Superior 3-1 overall. Eau Claire Memorial 2-2. And at the bottom of the conference, your Hudson Raiders and the River Falls Wildcats, both teams 0-2. Hudson 0-3 overall. River Falls 0-4.
Well, it's anybody's game. I think the upper echelon teams so far, with quite a bit of season to go, I would definitely put Rice Lake, Menominee, Chippewa Falls up there at the top, all undefeated. Superior had a big time loss against Chippewa Falls last week. Superior, the defending champions, of course, had that win over Hudson 2 weeks ago.
So almost an onside kick. The Raiders going to have some trouble picking it up, but Diemel gets to it, and Diemel finds a seam, will take the football up around the 42-yard line, and the Raiders once again with pretty good starting field position on this drive.
Well, if you can consistently start between the 35 and 45-yard line, you're going to be in good shape. We haven't seen Diemel on returns a whole lot, but he's so talented. If as many touches as you can get him, and I think that's what they're going to do.
So far, no quarterback controversy. Back out there with Charlie Richards. Richards will go under center. And he's going to fake the handoff. Ball comes loose, and Richards is going to be stopped for a loss. Going to be about a loss of a yard and a half on that play.
Those are the mistakes you have to avoid. And Richards, on that kind of quarterback option there, he has coughed it up a couple times here, and slippery ball, slippery playing surface. We talked about that in the pregame as the first quarter comes to an end.
So quarter number 1 over, and we talked a little bit about that quarterback situation. And I don't want to make light of it, but a lot of times I think a coach in a situation where you're getting routed, sometimes you just want to pull that quarterback just to give him a break. I mean, he's not going to learn anything getting out there and getting crushed. Get the other guy a little chance to get in there and play, and just give him a second to kind of recover mentally from something like that as well.
Well, Josh Somerville did the kind of the mop-up role, I guess if you want to call it, in the fourth quarter. Had some decent success against the Menominee defense that had pulled some of their starters. Menominee really wanted that game last week, and we had beaten them 7 straight times. And Menominee's very strong this year. Coach Joe Labuda's had a tremendous record there, and I think Menominee, more than any other game on their schedule, wanted that game. And they came in prepared and focused and really, I mean, Hudson, in the few games they've lost, and I've been doing this since the start of the 2011 season, that's the worst loss that I've seen by far. We were dominated really from start to finish.
Yeah, I think this is, I think I did it for 7 years, because the first year that I called the games for the River Channel, it was the first year that the Hudson Raiders beat Menominee. This time they will give to Trapecio. Trapecio slides through a tackle. Is going to be a gain of around 2 or 3. Kind of made something out of nothing there, because when he took the football, he was about 5-6 yards deep, and there were plenty of white shirts around him. He was able to slip through some tackles and make that into a positive gain.
1 quarter in the books. 8-7 game. I would expect nothing less out of these two teams. They've played last 4 years. They've each won 2, an overtime game, a 2-point game last year.
3rd down and around 7, and this is a spot the Raiders need to pick up a first down. And looked like he had the football initially. Joe Gallardi had the football and then lost it. It was a tough catch to make, certainly. He was basically laying down when the football got to him, and now the Raiders will have to send the punt team in after the incomplete pass.
Well, Hudson has struggled to really establish a passing game, and they really needed to convert that, but hopefully Christian Bell can get a nice boomer punt off here and back Rice Lake up.
So Bell will stand at around his own 30-yard line, returning this punt for Rice Lake. I believe that is going to be Jared Winkler, and Winkler is going to field the punt at around the 20-yard line. Raider coverage team does a nice job of mopping it up, not giving Winkler much of a return there. They're going to spot this football at around the 24-yard line, and that's where Rice Lake will start this drive.
Well, it's the Hudson defense. Rice Lake scored on their earlier possession and had a successful 2-point conversion for a slim 8-7 lead here. And again, if you just joined us, we've been talking about this. This is a Rice Lake team averaging 62 points per game, 243 points total scored on the season, scored 75 last week and over 70 2 weeks prior to that. This team can really put some points up.
Ashland goes back under center, and they will give it to Pierre. Raiders had him stopped initially. He slides through for an extra about 3 yards there. They had him stop the line of scrimmage, and he kind of squirted through there. And kind of interesting to note as well, right now that football is right in the muddy spot of the field, and I think it's difficult to make cuts, but it's also difficult as a lineman here to get off and get your power into your legs here, because you're going to be sliding no matter what you're wearing for cleats.
Very good point here. Again, grass surface at Newton Field. We had about 5 inches of rain yesterday. It's also rained today, so it's a soggy playing surface tonight.
And Ashland will keep it himself, and the Raiders do a nice job there stopping him for no gain. He looked like he was going to pitch, then kept it in, and the Raider defense stayed home. Joe Geisler and company there making the tackle after a short gain of about 1 there for Ashland.
Well, that's exactly what they needed to do, and forcing Rice Lake into what I would call a 3rd and long situation, 3rd and 6. This is where you got to draw the line in the sand and force them into a 4th down and hopefully force them into a punt. Big play coming up here.
Yeah, Rice Lake was 3 of 3 in those long 3rd down spots here in the first quarter, and this is another one, 3rd and 6. Hudson's got to come up with a spot at the stop. Ashland will.
Situation, 3rd and 6. This is where you got to draw the line in the sand and force them into a 4th down and hopefully force them into a punt. Big play coming up here.
Yeah, Rice Lake was 3 of 3 in those long 3rd down spots here in the first quarter, and this is another one, 3rd and 6. Hudson's got to come up with a spot at the stop. Ashland will give it to his guy Seacrest. Seacrest slips through, and that will be a first down, gain of around 8 yards there for Seacrest. And that will move the chains once again for Rice Lake.
Well, Rice Lake needed the 6 yards, and who do you put it in the hands of? Your best back, number 2 rusher in the conference, Isaiah Seacrest. Hudson defensively could not stop him, converted the 3rd down. Drive continues.
And that's just power football.
Yep.
They got 2 lead backs, and Seacrest goes right in behind them. Raiders kind of had some arm tackles on him, but when you got that much blocking coming in through you there, it's going to be tough to come up with the stop. They'll pitch it to Seacrest. Seacrest loses the handle, and he will recover the football. It's going to be a short loss. Kind of a nasty-looking pitch. Seacrest lucky to come up with that football. Going to lose about a yard there.
Coming up at halftime, we'll have a recap of the first half, some scores on the MSBN scoreboard. Want to remind our viewers, shoot us an email. I'd love to hear from you here at Newton Field tonight. Click on the Email Us link in your game tracker screen. You can let us know who you are, where you're listening from, who you're cheering for tonight. For those tuning in on Hudsonite.com, welcome aboard.
And Ashland back under center. He's going to keep it. Pitches it out to the left side. It's going to be incomplete there. Looking for Dylan Roberts. Yeah, feel free to email us unless you're on the beach in Hawaii.
Well, Dylan Roberts, I think, number 1, it was a slipper ball. Number 2, I think he was hearing some footsteps there as Hudson had a couple linebackers there and defended that play pretty well. And here we go again. Sounded like a broken record. We're Rice Lake into a 3rd and long, 3rd and 11 this time. And the Hudson defense is challenged to put the stop here.
Yeah, we were talking about how Seacrest came behind those blockers. Really, the Hudson Raiders were lucky to bring him down. They did, because it looked like one more guy and he was gone down the field. This time they'll set up with Pierre right behind Ashland, and they will pitch it out there to the left side to Seacrest. Seacrest trying to make a couple moves, and the Hudson Raider defense stops him cold. Gain of about 2, but that should send the Rice Lake punt team on the field. Now, the coaches told me before the game they have not punted yet this year. If they send the punt team on the field, this will be the first time this season that they have punted. Oh, the stat guy says once. They punted once.
They punted one time.
No, he says
this is the first one.
This is the first punt for Rice Lake.
I'll tell you what, all kidding aside, that's a feather in the cap of the Hudson Raiders. They shifted very well.
And Roberts is going to kick the football down to Dre Burgess. Burgess probably made a bad decision fielding that punt.
Luckily, it didn't squirt out because it's a wet football, wet surface tonight. And nice punt. The first punt of the Rice Lake Warriors this year. So I guess you can hang your hat on that one, if you will. And, to go 4 games and not have a punt, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, 4 and a quarter games. That is amazing that they've put up that many points and been able to possess the ball and just not have to give it up. So the Raider offense comes back after the defense makes a big stop. And again, the Rice Lake Warrior offense hasn't been stopped much this season. And Richards and company will start this drive at the Hudson Raider 25-yard line. Richards is going to give it to Diemel, and Diemel looked like he was going to get through there and then just knocked right on his butt after a gain of about 3. Actually, they're going to give him 4. A nice gain there for Diemel.
Holden Tim emailing in, former Raider, says Hudson offense needs to capitalize here. I would agree with Mr. Tim. Andy Johnson, another former Raider, emailing in, said, let's go, boys, time to eat. Raider Nation.
They are going to give it to Diemel once again, and Diemel, a nice pickup once again, is going to give the Raiders a nice, very makeable 3rd down and about 2 after another gain of, we'll call it 3 this time by Diemel.
I work with Andy Johnson's mother. Of course, Andy, the center last year for the Hudson Raiders, now doing his college thing. A lot of the former players off to college. We wish them well.
So 3rd down and 3. Richards and the Hudson offense in a big spot here. Jagger Marvin tries to get Rice Lake to move off sides. They're going to do none of it this time. Richards resets the offense, and they're going to give it to, I believe that was Holm that time, and he is going to be short. No, that was actually Dayton Diemel once again. Picks up about 1.5 yards, needed 3, and the Raiders are going to think about it. The punt team started to come onto the field, and they came back off, and
there it is.
Raiders will line right back up.
Gutsy call here, deep in your own territory.
4th down and 1. They try to drive Rice Lake off sides here. The Raiders do have 2 timeouts, so they can call a timeout if they just try to draw them and can't make it happen. But got some guys to jump, but nobody went in the neutral zone. And now,
yeah, they're going to have to call it.
Now Coach Cowles will call timeout, and Christian Bell and the punt team will come onto the field.
I think Rice Lake was very aware of what the Hudson was trying to do there, and they've done it successfully through the years. They really have with the hard snap count, but it was not to be there. You know, this is a gutsy call going for it, even though it is 4th and 1, deep in your own territory on the 35-yard line. You know, a close game here, 8-7 Rice Lake. Now the question is, do you come out and go for it anyway, or do you punt it away?
They've got Christian Bell on the field,
yeah.
So I think they're going to punt it. But honestly, I think had maybe the Raiders not made that stop on that last possession, maybe you do go for it because you don't feel good about your defense. Yeah. But the Raiders have done a nice job stopping Rice Lake's offense the first 2 downs, and in that last series they were able to complete the job. So I think I think Coach Cowles is probably starting to feel a little more confidence in his defense after what he's seen in the last few drives, and I think he feels comfortable punting this football away here. So Bell standing at his own 20 this time. And the ball comes loose. Bell's going to pick it up, and now that's disaster.
Oh, boy.
So now you feel like it would have been nice to have a real opportunity there. And that's a tough deal for that to happen. And
we talked about this before. This is one of the reasons why Hudson's 0-3. It's the mistakes, and the key mistakes at key times during the game. You can't give a high-powered offense like the Rice Lake Warriors a short field. You know, now the defense has got to step it up again as Rice Lake starts an excellent field position.
At the Hudson Raider 28-yard line. This is an offense that doesn't need any favors. Ashland will look to throw, and he's got a wide-open man, connects at the 10-yard line, and that's Roberts, and Roberts is into the end zone. That's a touchdown for Rice Lake.
Well, you want to talk about capitalizing on a mistake. Bang, bang, bang. The Rice Lake Warriors, one play coming off that muffed punt, go to the air, and the Raiders are up by a score, and we'll see if they're going to go for 2 again here, Chris.
Yeah, they don't pass it very often, but when they do, they make big plays, and Rice Lake will go for 2 here as Ashland will set up under center with Pierre behind him. And we've got flags flying. Looks like it's going to be against Hudson, though. Nope, now it's going to be against Rice Lake. He pointed towards Hudson initially, but it will be motion against Rice Lake.
Well, this is a very key 2-point conversion. Hudson, if they can stop it here, that keeps the lead at 7 as opposed to 9. That changes the whole dynamic of the game, really. And well, now Rice Lake, okay, now they've changed. Since they've been backed up, they are going to go for the extra point.
So they'll send the kicker onto the field. Their holder is going to be John Kohler, who has had the football and done some stuff with it this year, but the kick is going to be no good as he just kicks it right into the back of his line. With this footing and with this field, it's going to be tough hole in there if you're going to try to kick the football, and that was kind of a illustration of it. I don't think you'll probably see a whole lot of the kicker for Rice Lake the rest of the night.
Yeah, sometimes you have to adjust what you're doing and what you don't do because of the field position, because of the field conditions. Again, it's very rainy. Or was very rainy. I think it's not raining now. Maybe I'm looking off across the way. There it is, still sprinkling. But in the last 24 hours, we've gotten 4.5, maybe even as much as 5 inches of rain on this field. A downpour yesterday, and kind of spotty rain on and off today as well. But nice break there for Hudson in stopping Rice Lake and keeping it to within 7. Going to go back into the MSBN email bag. Got some scores coming in. And Chippewa Falls up now 20-7 over River Falls. Eau Claire Memorial up 7-6 over Eau Claire North in the Battle of Eau Claire. We got another email coming in. And I was wondering when Lee Livermore was going to email in. Thank goodness we heard from him. I was wondering what happened to Lee, and we'll get to that in a moment.
So this time they'll attempt to kick it long. It's going to be Nick Holm picking up the football, and Holm finds a seam, still on his feet down past the 40-yard line of the Hudson Raiders with some more great starting field position after the nice return by Nick Holm. The Hudson Raiders will set up shop here at around the 43-yard line.
Well, that's exactly what Hudson needed. That's their second consecutive nice return to start in very good field position, down by 7. We want to check in with Lee Livermore. We haven't heard from him this year, so wonderful to hear from Lee. He was on the 65 team, former coach here, and a veteran of the Vietnam War as well, and he's a big Hudson fan, and I'll get to his email here in a moment.
Richards will go under center. He's going to give it to Dayton Demel. Demel with a nice burst. Going to pick up 4 or 5 there on first down and put the Raiders in close to midfield position here. They're going to mark the football at around the 47, 48-yard line. Well,
Lee's living in Cameron now. He was out in Washington last year. He said Rice Lake is kind of my home because Cameron's right by Rice Lake, but always a Raider at heart. Says go blue and white, beat the Warriors. Also, congratulations to Kenny Larson, distinguished alumni, who's going to be honored here. Of course, this is homecoming. He thanks him for his dedication to Hudson football, wrestling, and Hudson's youth. Says well done, old friend.
2nd down and 6 here for the Raider offense. They're going to give it to Holm, and Holm is wrapped up after a gain of about a yard or 2. We'll see where they spot it.
Karen Wilgren emailing in, I'm guessing related to John Wilgren from last year. Says stay strong, Raiders, and play smart. So thank you, Karen, for emailing in. Keep those emails coming in. Homecoming night, Friday night. Thank you for coming on board. Raider football on MSBN.
Hudson Raiders trailing Rice Lake 14-7. 5 minutes to go here in the second quarter on homecoming. Hudson Raiders trying to get some more points on the board, tie this football game up. 3rd down and 4 for Hudson. Charlie Richards with Nick Holm right behind him. Trapecio goes in motion. Richards looking to pass, in trouble. He's going to roll right, looking downfield, nothing going, tucks it in, and slides out of a tackle, but it's going to lose about 4 yards, and the Hudson punt team's going to have to come back on the field after a not a good effort, but not good results there on that pass play.
No, going to 3rd and 4, you're going to have to punt it away there. Hudson trying to establish some kind of passing, whether it's just a quick hitter or rollout. They're trying to establish that rollout, and that also frees Richards up for a possible quarterback keeper on that. But, give credit where credit's due. Excellent coverage on the Rice Lake defense. This is a Rice Lake defense. We've talked about their offense, and while we should, it's tremendous. This is a defense that's given up a lot of points this year.
They have, and that's some of the coaches said, we've scored a lot of points because we've had to score a lot of points. Punt's going to be picked up around the 12-yard line, and the Raider coverage team all over it, drives them down right there at the 11, 12-yard line. And one thing that Hudson has done very well tonight is they've covered kicks well and they've covered punts well. So nice job there by the Hudson Raider coverage team, and this will put Rice Lake in a hole here. They had great field position on the last possession. This time they'll start at their own 12-yard line.
Devin Dalton, among a couple others, coming down there. 5'11", 185-pound junior. Excellent special teams play by Darren Dalton.
So the Raiders,
the
Warriors with a long field in front of them here. They'll send a man in motion, and they're going to give the football. I believe that's Dylan Roberts. Roberts fighting for yardage. He's going to pick up about 3. No, actually, that was Seacrest. Seacrest, a gain of 3 there. Set up 2nd down and 7 and around the 14-yard line. And the Raiders defense, again, have done a nice job on Seacrest tonight. He's gotten his yards, but he hasn't got the big chunks that he's had so far this season.
He had that touchdown scamper, and he had one other good run, but this is a guy who's coming in with 600 and some yards, and they've contained him fairly well. That was a big goal tonight.
So this time they'll throw it out on the edge. And the Raiders, once again, some nice jobs out there on defense. That was, looks like in coverage over there for Hudson, Tom Geisler. Geisler not allowing a big gain out of a short pass. They'll pick up about 2 or 3 there, but that's it.
Well, if you're Hudson, you still have your just down to 1 timeout,
yep.
excuse me, but they do have a timeout left. If they can stop Rice Lake here, and Rice Lake's letting that clock run 3rd and 5, they have had some success stopping on Rice Lake on 3rd, but Rice Lake's also converted several 3rd down too. Big play here.
Yep, 3rd down and 5. 2:30 left in the first half, and guess who? Seacrest. And the Raiders, nice job there handling Seacrest, Geisler and company. The defensive line, though, stood up the offensive line of Rice Lake. That's Zammy Schwartz and company down there. basically just left Seacrest with no holes. Clock's still rolling, though, 2:09. The Raiders do have one timeout, but not using it right now for some reason. And Rice Lake will just run this clock.
And I thought once they stopped them that Hudson would immediately call a timeout. They only have the one remaining. They chose not to do that, and Rice Lake, and rightfully so, is letting this clock run all the way down. Dre
Burgess standing at his own 45-yard line, and flag on the play back there. I think the Rice Lake Warriors had too many men in the huddle. One guy coming off the field as the referee throws the flag. That's a good indication.
Yep. Another mistake, and that's going to potentially give Hudson even better field position. They really need a good returner, even if they can get in a position. Not a whole lot of time left, minute 45. They do have the one timeout. You can work the sideline. The clock also stops at the movement of chains in high school football. You can utilize that as well. But even if you can get in a position to put Christian Bell a field goal attempt, a decent field goal attempt to cut this 7-point lead going into half potentially.
And really that's why they should have called the timeout.
I agree.
Because when you get the football in your hands, you can spike the football, you can run it out of bounds, you can do a lot of things to stop the clock when you have possession of the football. You don't call it on third down because if Rice Lake converts, you do them a favor. But you got to call it on fourth down. You got to call that timeout. They'd be sitting here with 2:09 left instead of a minute 45. The 5 yards should give the Raiders some more opportunity here at really good field position. And Rice Lake, again, their punt team is very inexperienced. I mean,
I guess so. They haven't punted. This is the first punt they punted was earlier. So this is their second punt.
Second punt of the season for the Rice Lake Warriors. And they will kick it away. It's a high, deep kick. Dre Burgess is going to stand back and let the Rice Lake coverage team get that one. Motu almost got in trouble, but Rice Lake will down that football at around the 48-yard line. So the Raiders at their, they'll call it the 47, with a minute 37 to play, down 7 to one of the highest scoring teams, if not the highest scoring team in the state of Wisconsin. So a great opportunity here with a minute 37 to tie this football game up.
Well, I would venture a guess that Rice Lake probably, if they're not the highest scoring team, by goodness, they got to be in the top 3.
I would think
62 points a game. I mean.
So this time the Raiders will go around the edge here. It's going to be Dre Burgess, and Burgess is going to pick up about 11, 12 yards. That should move the chains, and he did get out of bounds. Let's see where they mark it. No, he didn't. He got going to give him 9 yards, but he did get out of bounds. That stops the clock, 1:31 to go. And Hudson into Rice Lake territory at the 43-yard line.
Want to say hello to Dennis Demo, the Demo family watching from Navarino tonight, and they say go Hudson.
Pickup of 8 for Dre Burgess. And this time the ball comes loose. Richards does. Well, it looked like he had it, and then it came loose again, and now we'll wait for the official's indication. There were a lot of white jerseys there, but it looks like the Raiders are going to come up with the football, and I believe that was going to be Joe Geisler coming up. No, that was Dre Burgess coming up with the football, but went from a 2nd down and 2 to a 3rd and 5 now for Hudson. And Richards is going to look to throw here. Nothing doing once again. He's going to have to get rid of that football, and he goes down. Loss of 9 yards. And you got to get rid of the football.
Yeah, you do, and that's it's easier said than done. But Rice Lake defensively in the defensive secondary had the options all guarded. But boy, you look at the time you lost, and you were sitting pretty good on a 2nd and 1, and now you're 4th and 14, 54 seconds to go. Tough break.
And now Rice Lake calls timeouts. 4th down and 14 for Hudson. And Rice Lake is hoping, hey, maybe we get another muff snap or something like that where we can get the football into Hudson territory. So they call timeout with 54 seconds to go, and they're thinking more points.
Well, while they sort it out, we want to say hello to Doug Brozek. Says cheering on their nephew Alex Shaw. They say go Raiders. So, Doug, thank you for emailing in. Also a score update. Menominee and Superior are tied up at 14-14 in the second quarter. That's surprising. I thought Menominee would go up there and really take it to Superior after what Chippewa Falls did to Superior up there last week. But, every week's different. And the Superior Spartans are defending Big Rivers Conference champions, holding serve with the very tough Menominee Mustangs. Also in the second quarter, Eau Claire Memorial starting to pull ahead now. After North had an early 6-0 lead, Memorial Old Abe's now up 21-6 over the North Huskies at Carson Park.
So 54 seconds to go. Christian Bell and the Hudson Raider punt team on the field. Bell gets it away, and this one's going to bounce. Not going to be a return here. The Raiders going to get a chance to down this football around the 14-yard line. So that's really the best scenario for the Hudson Raiders. If you can get that punt away cleanly and not give up a return, that's where those home runs get hit. Get your coverage team down there, down the football at the 14-yard line. And Rice Lake will start this possession with 48 seconds left to play on their own 14.
And now the question is, you don't have a whole lot of time. You do have the one timeout. Do you just take a knee? You're up by 7, run it out, and take the 7-point lead in at halftime? Do you roll the dice and try to build on this lead? If you're the Hudson defense, you got to be prepared for anything.
So 48 seconds to go. I'd give it to that home run hitter, Seacrest, and we've got yellow on the field, and it's going to be against Rice Lake. Another penalty. The Raiders have made some mistakes tonight, but one thing they haven't done so far is committed a penalty.
Yeah, it looks like Rice Lake's going to be backed up even further, and unfortunately Hudson, any thoughts of trying to get them 3 and out and utilize the timeouts, will only have the one timeout, and I just wonder if Rice Lake's just going to try to run this out and go into halftime, but we'll see.
Yeah, they may decide just to go into the victory formation, and I don't think Coach Cowles is going to use that timeout if they do that, but looks like they're going to run a play here. Ashland under center. They'll run Seacrest in motion, and Ashland looked like he's going to throw, then makes a move, and he's going to be knocked down after a short loss. Going to lose about a yard on that play. Geisler on the tackle for the Hudson Raiders.
Overall, I tell you, you got to be pretty happy, even though you're down 14-7, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You got to be pretty happy if you're the Hudson Raiders. This is a team that Rice Lake came in scoring 157 points in the first half.
In 4 games.
In 4 games.
Yep. Second down and about 15. And this time they give it to Pierre, I believe, and Pierre's got about 2 yards.
And that's going to do her.
So at the end of the first half, both teams will go to the locker rooms. Rice Lake leads it 14-7 over Hudson. Hudson came out that first drive, looked very impressive offensively, able to pick up some first downs, and really it was kind of a classic Hudson Raider drive in which they just grounded out, very methodical, moved down the field, finished it off with a nice 8-yard touchdown by Dayton Diemel. Everything was happy. Everything was good in the world of Hudson. There was 6 minutes left. They chewed up 6 minutes on the clock. Rice Lake got the football, kind of did the same thing. One of those drives where the Raider defense was able to stop them initially, gave up some long third downs, but Rice Lake, a nice drive went down, scored a touchdown, 2-point conversion to make it 8-7. And then both offenses kind of seemed like they had to figure things out there for a while. Kind of a tale of 2 quarters. This very interesting football game so far.
Well, it is. I really like what Hudson did on that first drive. Capping it off with the Diemel touchdown there. But Hudson still continuing to struggle, trying to establish some type of a passing game. Defensively, I like the way Rice Lake played in the first half. This is a Rice Lake defense that's been lit up pretty good. It hasn't mattered because the offense has scored so many points, but it's a defense that has given up some points. But Hudson only with that first opening touchdown drive, and still some of those mistakes. Charlie Richards was roughed up pretty good on a couple of those plays here. So as we see the homecoming festivities taking place, but it's anyone's ball game. 2 rival teams, 14-7, and if you're the Hudson Raiders, you just kind of go into the locker room, make some changes, and come out in the second half.
Yeah, we talked earlier. This game historically, in the last 5, 6, 7 years, the Hudson Raiders have kind of been the big dog in the big rivers, but every time they took on Rice Lake, it was always a big football game. Now tonight, it's kind of everybody's flipped. Rice Lake came into this game looking like the big dog in the conference. The Raiders struggling, and the Raiders are really giving them a game tonight. And we brought it up a couple times. Rice Lake hasn't had to punt the football all season long, and the Raiders have come up with a couple of stops here and really have challenged the Rice Lake offense. Got some stats here courtesy of the Rice Lake scorekeeper. He's here sitting right next to me and got some good stuff here for me. The Hudson Raiders, 21 carries so far for 55 yards. Rice Lake, 19 carries for 87 yards. The big thing, though, I think that we need to look at is Seacrest, who's kind of been the home run hitter. He's averaging 16 yards per carry this season, about 16 yards per half in this game. He may have a little bit more accurate stats than I have, but I've got Seacrest sitting at about 35 yards right now. So the Raiders have done a nice job of not allowing him to get out in space and do his thing. They've kept him somewhat contained. He's picked up a couple of big third downs, but they haven't allowed him to stretch the field and take it down for 80-yard touchdowns.
Well, you definitely get that feeling. I'm sure it was talked about and focused on in practice. Is, you know, we're aware with what Isaiah Seacrest can do. We've seen his stats for this year. We also can remember what he did to us last year as a junior up in Rice Lake, and particularly the linebacker play, and really keying on him. And they did, you know, we got a half to go, but the first half, I think success in that regard in containing him. You know, still down here 14-7, but overall defensively, again, I think Hudson was pretty solid in the first half.
Yeah, the Rice Lake scorer has Seacrest, 9 carries, 42 yards, which, again, I consider a victory for the Hudson Raiders. They can control them like that. Dayton Diemel, 10 carries for 41 yards. Richards, 5 for 12. Nick Holm, 3 carries for 7 yards. Dre Burgess, 1 for 8 yards. Trapiccio, 1 for 5 yards for the Hudson Raiders. Now, again, for Rice Lake, it was Seacrest, 9 for 42, Hunter Ashland, 4 for 15, Pierre, 3 for 13. And that's another guy that has really done some damage to Rice Lake's opponents. And so far, you know, you're sitting here, you're down 14-7, but I think you got to feel pretty good about being down 14-7 right now. You're still in the football game, and you have challenged them both offensively and defensively. We just have to be more consistent, and that's, you look at the third down conversions, Rice Lake, 3 of 6, and they were 3 for 3 on that first drive. So they went 0 for 3 on third down conversions the rest of the game. But their Hudson Raider offense, 2 of 7, and both those came on their first drive. So far, since that first drive, they were 0 of 5 on third down conversions.
Well, and this Rice Lake team has come into this game, according to WisconsinSports.net, with a third down conversion percentage of 64%. So basically, they're converting 2 out of every 3. So very strong. So, you know, I think a pretty decent job for Hudson there. You know, I think the key in the second half for the Hudson Raiders, quite frankly, is to develop some kind of a passing attack. You know, the Diemel's had some good runs and home here and there, but when you start keying on that, you know, if you could just, you know, a quick hitter, 7-8 yards or something to kind of loosen that defense up a little bit and at least throw that threat out there. You know, Hudson is very much a ground attack, but a little bit of passing to complement that, I think, would go a long way to possibly pulling this game out.
See, maybe it's from just standing next to Joel Eby for the last 4 or 5 years doing the games on the River Channel. But I have to disagree with you. To me, it seemed like the Raiders had things going, and then they would try to pass, and they would get themselves in holes.
That's true.
If you can, this is what I tell my first and second grade football teams. So let's go back to the basics of football. If you can pick up 2.5 yards per time you touch the football, you won't get stopped. 2.5 yards every single time, and you will score a touchdown every time. So that's your goal. Block that play for 3 yards. Let's get 3 yards of play, and we'll win the football game. Where you get yourself in trouble is where you start trying to get cute. And so far tonight, what I've seen and what I saw when I came up here to watch the Superior game is the Raiders can't throw the football. Don't try to be something that you're not. Just run the football, get as many first downs as you can, control the clock, and hopefully you can win.
And with that, we'll turn it down to the band, the homecoming festivities here, and the Hudson band with their brand new uniforms. Saw them practicing earlier. I got a great program for you here at halftime. We'll turn on the crowd mic. We'll shut up for a while and be back with you when the halftime festivities are going. So enjoy the Hudson High School Marching Band here at Homecoming 2015.
Assisted by officials from we've got replay.
is the band ready? Hudson High School Marching Band will take the field for your halftime performance.
Welcome back to Newton Field in lovely and historic Hudson, Wisconsin. The Hudson Raiders and Rice Lake Warriors tonight, this football game in the Big Rivers Conference. We've got a nice game going on, 14-7, Rice Lake over the Hudson Raiders, and we feel like we keep beating this thing over the head, but Rice Lake scoring a ton of points this season, and the Hudson Raider defense, kind of a bend but not break type of performance. They have not allowed Rice Lake to do what they've done to their other opponents this year, but allowed 14 points, which really, when you think about it, the Hudson Raiders kind of gave them that last touchdown with the field position at the 28-yard line. So I think so far, other than really the one play, the muff punt play, I think they got to feel pretty good about where they're at here.
Well, I do. I mean, you never feel completely content when you go into halftime down, but considering, the Hudson's coming in 0-3 and they got thumped pretty good last week, and we talked about the explosiveness of this Rice Lake team, you're feeling decent. You go in, make some changes at halftime, homecoming here, and just to kind of expand a little bit on the field conditions, the rain has really picked up here, and you can probably see it on our video with the light standards across the way there. And unfortunately, it had stopped for a little bit, and the Hudson band, who did a marvelous job at halftime, by the way, hats off to everybody in the band. That is so much work to do that, and I've seen them practicing, and unfortunately the weather is what it is tonight. Brand new uniforms and a great performance in some pretty adverse conditions, so thank you for that. But the field conditions are going to continue to be really, really sloppy. We're going to see some dirt, and as a football traditionalist, I like that because you never get that with field turf. You do get that with grass, but it's going to be knock them down, slug it out second half between these two rivals. It's anyone's game.
And I really think that plays into the Hudson Raiders, what they do. Rice Lake is the speed team coming into this game. They like to do a lot of cutting and cut that football field, pick up some big gains on those runs. And with this sloppy field, it's going to be tough to make those cuts because you're going to go right down when you make the cuts. So that kind of falls into what the Raiders want to do. Rice Lake will start with the football here. Before we get going, about a minute left here before they start getting things going, it is homecoming, and I want to talk a little bit about our coronation here.
Yes.
So second princess was Amira Tobasi. She got second princess. First was Madison Wissey. And your homecoming queen for 2015 at Hudson High School is Tasha Clark. And that's going to be something, it'll be something that she'll remember.
Yes,
and it'll be something when they come back for the 20-year reunion, the 30-year reunion, the 40. Hey, Tasha was the homecoming queen. So it's kind of something it's kind of done in fun at this point, but it'll be something they'll remember down the road as they get as old as you and I are.
Homecoming was a long time ago. It was back in the 80s for me, so that tells you, the late 80s. But homecoming week is full of a lot of fun things. We had the parade here in town on Wednesday, a lot of stuff in the school spirit contest, that type of thing, culminating with the football game and also the homecoming dance. I don't know if that's tonight or tomorrow, but I think it's tomorrow. A lot of fun, a homecoming tradition that goes back many, many years, and it's part of the fall, part of what you look forward to, and particularly special for the seniors. It's their last one. And so, and the way to celebrate it the best is for a homecoming win, and that's what Hudson's going to try to do. Down by 7 in this wet, soggy night here at Newton Field.
Yeah, it looked like that rain was kind of tapering off there towards the end of the first half, but about halfway through that band performance, it really started coming down, and you can really start to see the water on the field. Basically, anywhere in the middle of the field where that football is going to be spotted, it's pretty soggy out there in the center.
Well, Fran from New Richmond emails in, and he says, what pasture are they playing on? Well, I'm not sure how to respond to that, but it is Newton Field. It is good, and of course, I'm looking across there, and I thought the rain, originally the forecast was to let up. Well, that forecast has changed. It's not let up. If anything, it's intensified. But I want to say hello to Tony Meineke. It's great to be able to watch the Raiders online. Fun for a teacher to see former students go Raiders, and that coming in from Tony Meineke. Also want to say hello to the Kralls, the Go Dayton Demo, and the Hudson Raiders from family and friends listening in Navarino. Of course, Dayton Demo, the big senior running back for the Hudson Raiders, had a good first half, including their only touchdown. And just want to get some score updates in. This one's kind of surprising, Chris. At halftime, up in Superior Spartans and Menominee Mustangs all knotted up 14 14-14. And also, too, in the battle for Eau Claire, in a game we have on MSBN tonight, Eau Claire Memorial at last report was up 21-14 over Eau Claire North. And Chippewa Falls all over River Falls. River Falls really struggling, and looks like Chippewa Falls is going to go to 5-0. Chippewa Falls coming in here to Newton Field some 2 weeks from now, but they're rolling this year. Chuck Rakovic's got the Cardinals really playing well.
Yeah, they really started to come on there right at kind of the beginning, around 2000, 2005. They were a program that was kind of struggling, and Chuck Rakovic turned it around, and then it seemed like they kind of went back down. But this year, they're ready to go 5-0, and it's going to be a really competitive top end of this Big Rivers Conference this year. A lot of really good teams in this conference.
Well, I think if you're the Hudson Raiders, you got to defensively continue what you had started in the first half, trying to shut down Seacrest and force Rice Lake to punt. And offensively, Dayton Demel, Nick Holm, the line play, it's going to be more challenging. The footing is going to be an issue for both teams in the second half. And let's go. Anyone's game. Let's go.
Bell set to kick. Pierre and his line mate back there, Seacrest, back to receive. It'll be another short kick through the slot. Going to be fielded by Pierre at around the 12-yard line. The Raider coverage team all over that one will take down Pierre at around the 21, 22-yard line. Made mention of it in that second quarter, but the Raider coverage teams tonight, both in the kickoff and the punt, have been solid, and they really haven't allowed anything crazy to get loose.
I absolutely agree, and that's been something that's kind of been hit and miss, even in the years where Hudson was, had those undefeated conference championship teams. But the special teams play tonight has been excellent, the coverage.
So the Rice Lake offense will get started here at the 23-yard line, and they will give it to Pierre. They'll get him started right away. Pierre, a gain of around 3 on first down.
They've contained Pierre pretty well, too, Chris. You mentioned, we talked about Seacrest, but Pierre's pretty solid himself, and they've limited him.
Yeah, Pierre really didn't he only got 3 carries in that first half, so I think probably Coach Dan Hill just wants to get him started. They actually will give him 5 on that as he kind of squirted out of the pack. So a 5-yard gain, maybe second down in the long 5 here. Ashland set up under center in that power, and they will give it to Seacrest. Seacrest slides through some blue jerseys, and I think he's going to have the first down. Be a pickup of around 6-7 yards, and they will move the chains.
Well, first down conversion by the Rice Lake Warriors. Nothing fancy. Good blocking up front. It all starts with the offensive line. Seacrest gets a big burst coming across the line. He's one of these guys that can go to full speed in a matter of, a couple, 3 steps.
And it's really quite a formation. You've got 3 guys coming right at the line. This time they'll go around the outside, and that is Dylan Roberts. And Roberts going to pick up, looks like around 3 on first down. They'll give him 2. And Roberts had a nice run of 8 to kind of get that first drive going for Rice Lake in the first quarter. Raiders have kind of handled them since then. Second down and 8 now for Rice Lake on the near hash. Set up in that power formation once again, and Ashland throwing downfield to another wide open man and just missed him that time. Looking for Parker Buckley, and Buckley had gotten past the defense, and had Ashland delivered it, it would have been a 6-point play for Rice Lake.
Well, that's something Hudson can ill afford, with the offense struggling right now, down by 7. You can't give up that big play and go down 2 scores. The rain continuing to fall, the footing continuing to deteriorate here at Newton Field.
Silver lining to that, though, is it does set up a 3rd down and long, 3rd and 8 for the Warriors. Raiders with a chance to get off the field with a stop. They'll send Seacrest in motion, and Ashland's going to keep it. He's wrapped up initially, gets through some tackles, but he's going to be short. It's going to be a pickup of around 5, maybe 4, needed 8. Going to set up a 4th down and a short 4, long 3, call it what you will.
And the Rice Lake punting team coming on again. This is their 3rd punt of the game, 10 minutes to go here in the 3rd quarter. And this is significant because in 4 games prior to this, they didn't punt at all. This is their 3rd punt of the game. The Hudson defense holding the line.
3rd punt of the game, 3rd punt of the season for Rice Lake in Game 5. Good snap,
Well.
and Roberts will get it away. It's going to be very short punt as it basically went right out of bounds. And they're going to mark the football at around, looks like the 44, 45-yard line.
And once again, Hudson, you know, they had two excellent field positions coming off the kickoffs that when Rice Lake scored their 2 touchdowns. And once again, excellent starting field position for the first offensive possession of the second half. Down by 7, they're looking to do something with it here.
Yeah, good field position, but really, ball kind of bounced out of bounds. It was 5 yards deep at the 44-yard line. I think that's a pretty good spot for Rice Lake. 1st and 10 for Hudson at their own 44, and they will start off in the shotgun, and Richards will hand it to Nick Holm, and Holm gets back to the line of scrimmage, maybe a yard. That's about it. Short gain for Nick Holm.
And Nick Holm has been shut down for the most part tonight, too. And Demos had a couple nice runs, but again, defensively, Rice Lake has done a good job against Hudson. Hudson has struggled to score points this year. There's no question about it. You know, they had 14 last week against a very tough Menominee team, and those really came late, and only 7 against Superior the week before.
27 points in their first contest, but nowhere near that since then. Richards now kicks it out. It's going to be Trapicio, maybe a yard or two. We'll see where the spot is. But again, they ran that option to the short side of the field. There's not a lot of room there. I know you can't, play it both ways, but you keep running the option to the short side of the field, you're limiting what you can do yardage-wise there. 3rd down and 6 coming up after a gain of 2 for Trapicio.
Well, do you wonder, does Hudson go to the air? We talked about it at halftime, and Hudson struggled to get the passing attack going. Do you go that route? Do you have some kind of a counter play, maybe something fancy, or do you just try to power it between the tackles and put it in Demo's hand, 3rd and 6?
Give it to Demo, try to get 5 yards to set you up for a manageable 4th down. Richards looking to throw. He's got some blocking, and then he's pulled down. Pulled down. They're going to mark him down. Football came loose, but it's going to be a loss of 8 yards. And so far tonight, every time Hudson has tried to pass the football, bad things have happened.
It has, and no question about it. 3rd and 6 that time, and the footing came into play. But really, Rice Lake had an excellent pass rush in that time. The Hudson offensive line, just basically got beat on that one, and Hudson's going to have to punt it away. They started with excellent field position, but went nowhere.
Bell standing at his own 24-yard line, kicks it away. Nice high kick, and it's going to be fielded at the 20-yard line by Rice Lake, right up the sideline, and they're going to get about 10 yards on the return. Let's see where they mark it, but I think it's going to be around the 30. Let's go make it at the 30-yard line. So a pretty nice punt for Christian Bell, and after the sack and the big loss, I think the Raiders will take that for starting field position for Rice Lake here.
And if you're the Raiders, you have to think in the back of your mind, defensively, how many times are we going to be able to hold this Rice Lake team coming in averaging 62 points when they've done an outstanding job. But the Hudson defense is starting to spend a lot of time on this field.
Yeah, the Raiders going to have to start at least getting some first downs here. And this time they will give it to Roberts. Roberts working to get some extra yardage. I think the Raiders going to limit him to about 4 there on that carry. Gain of 4 will set up 2nd down and 6 at around the 35-yard line. 7:50 to go in the 3rd quarter. Rice Lake leads it 14-7 over the Hudson Raiders.
Homecoming 2015 here at Hudson, and we're glad you're joining us. If you feel so inclined, you can email us here at Newton Field. Very easy to do. Click on the email us link on your game tracker screen. Let us know who you are, where you're listening from, and who you're cheering for tonight.
And we'll give it to Pierre this time. And Pierre, a nice stop there by the Hudson Raider defense.
Joe Geisler on that one.
Rob Geisler, I think. 55.
Excuse me.
Too many Geislers on the field.
Yeah, a Geisler got in there.
A Geisler made the tackle. So a nice stop, and it sets up a 3rd and long for Rice Lake, 3rd down and 6. And they will run Roberts in motion. Look back over the sideline and reset the offense. 3rd and 6 at the 33-yard line. And they'll run Seacrest in motion. Ashland back to pass his man, clears the defense and makes the catch into Raider territory down to the 45-yard line. And that time, Rice Lake hits Lucas Postlethwaite, and Postlethwaite is one of Ashland's favorite targets. 7 catches on the season for 142 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he just beat his man, and he was moving fast. In a game that we've seen over the last 20, 30 minutes, guys moving pretty slow with that mud, Postlethwaite was flying down the sideline.
Well, and defensively now that Hudson's got to draw the line in the sand, Rice Lake is driven into Hudson territory. Hudson down by 7. They can't fall in a hole anymore.
And Ashland's going to kick it out now to Seacrest on the option, and the Raiders do a nice job over there. John Cryer and company not allowing that thing to go anywhere. And I would guess that Coach Neil Hatfield and company has been talking to these guys about Seacrest all week long, because the Raider defense has not allowed Seacrest to do damage tonight.
Regardless of the outcome of this game, I want to give a hats off to the coaching staff and the defense. This defense is vastly improved from last week.
2nd down and 11 now at the Hudson 36-yard line, and they're going to give it to Roberts. And once again, the Hudson Raider defense stays home and stops them right at the line of scrimmage. That time it's Tom Geisler. Making the tackle is going to be a loss of about 2 for Roberts.
And here we go, Chris. We're forcing Rice Lake into 3rd and long. Rice Lake went to the air very successfully earlier. Do they do it again now? 3rd and 13 officially on the scoreboard as we're now under 6 minutes. Halfway, 3rd quarter, halfway done already.
5:34 to go, and the last few times that Ashland's been back to pass, his guy's been open. The first time he missed him, that time he hit him in stride. Let's see what we got here. 3rd down and around 13. At the 37-yard line, and Ashland's back to pass. Plenty of time. It's Postlethwaite swinging right through the Hudson Raider defense. He is fast. Leaped up, pulled down the ball, and it's 1st down, and it's going to be first and goal, pretty close to it. Now it'll be 1st and 10 at the 10.5-yard line for Rice Lake.
Yeah, you know, and we talked about it early coming in. One of the challenges of the Hudson Raiders is to be able to stop teams on 3rd and long. And they were not able to do it at that time. Rice Lake inside the red zone.
There was 2 defenders there. Postlethwaite made the play, and they'll give it to Seacrest. And this time the Raider defense all over that one as well. Alex Shaw getting in behind the Rice Lake offensive line and just standing Seacrest up. They'll let him get back to the line of scrimmage. That's about it, a gain of about 1/4 of a yard. 2nd down and 10 coming up from, 2nd down and a short 10 coming up from the 10-yard line. So they will set up once again, this time with Sam Blyce behind Ashland. They pull out Pierre. They will send Seacrest in motion, and Ashland's going to keep it, and the Raider defense stays home. And we're going to give Ashland about 2 or 3 yards, but it's going to set up a 3rd down and long at around the 7-yard line, and they'll mark it around the 8. 3rd down and long for Rice Lake, deep into Hudson Raider territory with 4:03 remaining here in the 3rd quarter. Hudson Raiders trailing 14-7, Rice Lake on the doorstep.
And you have to think, you have to speculate that this is probably 4-down territory for Rice Lake. 2 huge downs for this Hudson defense. Hudson already down by 7.
Yeah, the Rice Lake kicker looked pretty shaky on that extra point attempt. I think they're going to have 2 shots at this. They're going to give it to Jake Roberts, and Jake Roberts is going to be wrapped up by a host of Hudson Raiders, including Mr. Malcolm Kowalski, and it looked like Tom Geisler over there, John Cryer, and we'll set up a 4th down and about 5 after a gain of around 3 by Jake Roberts.
Okay, the Hudson defense with their back to the wall, 4th and 5. They've been standing up Rice Lake the last 3 plays. They're going to have to do it again.
Bleacher creatures to their feet, 4th down and 5. Big spot here for the Hudson Raider defense. And it's going to be Ashland throwing, and he completes the pass, but I think he's going to be short, and it's going to depend on the spot.
All depend on the spot.
Raiders had him wrapped up. Where the official standing, I think they have it, but we'll have to, looks like they're going to measure. Going to be real close. They're not going to have to move those chains very far.
No, and they got the first down on what, Chris? The inside the 1?
Yeah, it was that marker, and that's why I kind of had a hard time believing they got it, because honestly, you're either going to get a touchdown there or be really close and get a first down.
Yeah, and if you did get a first down, you're
basically in the end zone.
You got potentially four cracks at it.
First down.
Okay, you're gonna, that's tough, Break. Boy, the defense played so well on the first 3 downs, forced them into a 4th and 5, and Rice Lake, nothing fancy, just kind of not really a bubble screen, but just kind of a pass out to the left side, converts the first down inside the 1.
So first down and goal from inside the 1-yard line for Rice Lake. 4 plays from the doorstep here for the Warriors. And they will give it to Jake Roberts, and Roberts is in. Touchdown, Rice Lake. And the Warriors step out now to a 20-7 lead, 2:45 to go in the third quarter.
Well, you have to give Rice Lake credit. They're very opportunistic. They made the big plays when they had to make them. The Hudson defense has played very well, but they have not had the ability to stop those 3rd and 4th downs.
And that's, like you said, has kind of been one of the issues that the Raiders have had so far this season, is getting off the field. First couple downs, defend well, but they just haven't been able to get off the field. 2-point conversion here, and Ashland's going to keep it, and no indication yet from the officials. Rice Lake says they're in. The Raiders say they're not in, and no one's put their arms up yet. So if they're going to call it good, they better do it now.
Good.
And they say no good. So the Raiders stay within 13, 20-7, as Ashland's point after attempt probably inches short.
Well, and that's an advantage here. Hudson still, any way you look at it, still down by 2 scores, but it's better to be down 20-7 than 22-7. And offensively, this Raider team has just got to get something consistently going, where you're getting first downs, consistently getting 4 and 5 yards on the ground, which that's Hudson football. Is smash mouth between the tackles, consistently getting 4 and 5 yards on the ground, counter plays, good line movement, the offensive line being able to open up the holes against your defender's D-line. They haven't really consistently been able to do it outside of that opening drive that Hudson did score on, but they're going to have to do it down by 2 scores now.
You're going to have to get back to that smash mouth football. And then, like you said, the Raider offensive line did a nice job blocking on that first drive. But it seems like they get things going and they start moving away from that bread and butter, and that's what's gotten them in trouble tonight.
It is.
So another squib kick, and it's going to be fielded on the far side at around the 22-yard line. Again, the Raiders able to get a few yards out of it. That was Devin Dalton picking the football up, and the Raiders will start this drive at their own 32-yard line.
Well, again, the Raiders looking to pull off a comeback. Homecoming night 2015, Newton Field, and just to put it into perspective here a little bit, Hudson won 20 consecutive games at home. That ended with a playoff loss to Appleton North. Hudson is potentially looking at now a 4th straight home loss. And so you got to get back to those winning ways. This is a huge drive.
Richards under center, first down, and he will hand it off. I believe that was Diemel. Going to be a gain of a yard or 2. Was Dayton Diemel. They'll give him 2.5, 3 yards there in first down. Set up second down in a short 8. And more importantly, you lose 4 straight home games, but you'll end up 0-4 in the season. You start off in your conference schedule 0-3, puts you in a position where if you're going to get in the postseason play, you're going to have to run the table.
You're going to have to run the table.
This time, Richards sets up in the shotgun. They will send Trapiccio in motion. Low snap, Trapiccio firing it out there for Jagger Marvin. Nothing going, but honestly, if you're going to pass the ball, I think you do something quick. You do something short. Try to get things going. If you are going to pass the ball, I think that's what you do. And we talked about some of these teams across the conference tonight. Eau Claire Memorial, I really like their passing game. When you watch those guys, it's little short slants. They're trying to pick up 4 or 5 yards. If they can break a tackle, get 10, 11, 12 yards. If you've got a passing game that's struggling, I like that type of passing game. Let's get some things going. If you don't complete it, usually not too many awful things happen to you.
The quick hitters, the hot reads, the slant patterns.
Richards back to pass again. He does hit his man. It's Marvin over there. It's going to be a gain of about 3-4 yards, and it's going to be well short of a first down, and Christian Bell will come back onto the field to punt. Marvin did go out of bounds, and it stops the clock with 1:54 to go here in the third quarter. Rice Lake once again will try to build on their 20-7 lead right now over the Hudson Raiders. And Bell has done a nice job kicking tonight, other than the snafu early on when he has sent the ball downfield. He's got some length on it and has done a nice job putting Rice Lake in a hole. But so far, if you can't get anything going on offense, it's going to be tough to try to get a win against this Rice Lake team. No return on that one as it goes out of bounds, and they will mark the football at the 31-yard line for Rice Lake.
Well, already down by 2 scores with an offense that's really struggling. The defense cannot give up more points. Time's starting to become a factor. We're under 2 minutes to go in the third quarter here. And it's do or die time, quite frankly, right now for Hudson.
Yeah, the Raiders can't allow Rice Lake to score on this one, or we are going to be back into garbage time situation here. Raiders defense has done a pretty admirable job tonight, but they're in a hole right now. Yeah, this time they'll give it to Pierre. Pierre is going to pick up about 3 or 4 yards before he's pushed back. Raider defensive line. When you think about everything that this Rice Lake offense has done this season, I would say a tip of the cap to the Raider defensive line, because they have really done a nice job standing up those Rice Lake offensive linemen, and for the most part have been able to wrap up and stop. I mean, obviously Rice Lake has got a few nice chunks, but nothing really out of hand here. And the Hudson Raider defensive line, I think, has definitely showed something tonight. 2nd down and 6, and Ashland will keep it, slides through the line, and is tripped up after a gain of about 3.
We want to say hello to Al Kallenbach. He said he's watching from North Hudson tonight, saying go Raiders. Hopefully you're dry out there.
We're dry.
Yeah, we're dry in the press box here.
I don't know about the rest of the people watching the game. Cameraman saying, I'm not dry.
No. Looking at cameraman John Reed out there, and he's got the umbrella, and he's got the camera covered, and he's covered, and we're doing the best we can. The rain has picked up.
And Ashland will keep it. Well, actually, they'll give it to Pierre, and I think Pierre is going to be, looks like he may have it. It's going to depend on the spot. It's going to be really close. And they will move the chains. Needed 3, got about 3.5, and that will move the chains for the Hudson Raiders, or for the Rice Lake Warriors.
And Rice Lake really starting to milk some clock too. When you convert the first downs, not only do you keep the drive going, you're sitting on a 13-point lead here, and the clock becomes your friend. The clock becomes the enemy of the Hudson Raiders, as they got to have some stops, get the ball back in the offense's hands, and try to cut into this lead.
29 seconds here left in the third quarter as the clock just starts again. 1st and 10 for Rice Lake at their own 43-yard line. They will kick it out to Seacrest. Seacrest tries to make a man miss, and John Cryer, I believe, over there. Yes, John Cryer, not letting it happen. And again, once again, the Raiders have done just a superb job tonight of handling Seacrest. Seacrest, gain of a half a yard.
Yeah, and again, singing the praise of the defense, much improved from last week, where Menominee put up 48 points on them, and Mason Stockey had, 200 yards or something like that. And as the third quarter comes to an end, Hudson's still down 13.
It's down 20-7, and really, this is one of those spots that can get scary as a coach, just because Rice Lake is moving that ball 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yards at a time. They're picking up first downs, and that thing out there called Mighty Mo, the momentum, is going to start working on the Raiders. You keep that defense on the field, and Rice Lake keeps just moving the chains methodically, and the Raiders' offense just doesn't have an answer for it. These guys have done a superb job tonight keeping this Rice Lake offense at bay. I mean, they're going to get theirs, but just don't give them too much. And that's exactly what they've done. But you just can't let them sit out there in the field all night like that.
Absolutely here. And Hudson still has a chance. But, you know, if Rice Lake is able to continue to sustain this drive, chewing up yards, chewing up clock, a Hudson team that hasn't really had any consistent offense going since the first drive back in the first quarter, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Going into the MSBN scoreboard, into the email bag, Superior 28, Menominee 20. I never saw that coming. I tell you, Superior got trounced at home last week against Chippewa Falls. Menominee ran all over Hudson at home. I'm surprised at that. Superior's a decent football team, but Menominee's a very good football team. Superior trying to be the home underdog, pull the upset, just like Hudson is here tonight.
That's a team that won this conference last year. They've got a lot of guys in that team that know what success is all about. They know what it's like to beat teams. This is Ashland picking up about 4 or 5 yards there on second down. It's going to set up third down and about 5 for Rice Lake. But this Superior football team, you know, they may be in the middle of the standings 1-1, but like this Hudson team, they're used to success. These guys know what it's like to win football games. They know how to win football games. And they may be down right now, but these guys have pride. They know what it's all about. They know what they got to do to win a football game. And they're going to be a tough out every week.
Big down here.
Third down and 5 here for the Rice Lake Warrior offense, and they will give it to Seacrest around the near side. And once again, the Hudson Raider defense not allowing him to do anything. Alex Richards pulls him down, and that will bring out, let's see what the Rice Lake coaching staff does. Dan Hill now will send out the punt team. So a nice play over there. All alone, Alex Richards yanks him down, and that will set up fourth down, and the Raider return team onto the field.
Well, you're going to have to strike pay dirt here because you're running out of time. We're into the fourth quarter now, down by 2 scores, and the Hudson Raiders offense going to get the ball back, hopefully in some decent field position.
And they will kick it away, and Burgess is going to field it at the 20-yard line. Pulled down after a short return about 3 or 4 yards. Raiders will set up camp at the 23-yard line. But as you said, John, the Raiders need to get something going here on offense. So far, since that first drive, I don't believe they've completed the third down conversion. So they are 0 for since they started out 2 for 2 in that first drive. They got to get something going here.
Absolutely. If they're hoping to walk out of here, homecoming 2015, the rain is falling here at Newton Field. Hudson, a 3-game losing streak here at home after they won 20 consecutive, looking for their first win of 2015. This is the time. This is the place. This is where it has to start. We're in the fourth.
Raiders will set up with 2 receivers to the near side, and they fumble the snap. Charlie Richards has to jump back on it, and that's not how you want to start this drive.
Boy, Richards has really had some trouble holding on to the ball tonight. It's a wet ball, it's a wet field, but that's really been a persistent problem.
Yep, and you could tell those guys were ready to go. The offensive line really fired off, and the football is sitting on the ground. Second down and 11 as the rain continues to pour down onto this field and onto the players. And Richards is going to give it to Trapiccio around the left side. Trapiccio is going to be tripped up short of the line of scrimmage. Going to be a loss of a yard or 2 for Daniel Trapiccio. Steven Trapiccio.
Steven, yeah. Not what the Hudson Raiders want to do. Now they're forced into 3rd and long, deep in their own territory. Time starting to tick away. They've had a very difficult time trying to get anything, through the air. Do you roll the dice and go here? I think you have to.
3rd and 12. At this point, we've been talking about trying to grind it out. You're going to have to throw it here and hope that you can connect.
Circumstances call for it, I guess.
Richards will set up in the shotgun. Trapiccio and Gallardi, the receivers to the near side, and Richards throwing across the middle. He's got his guy. It's Nick Holm. He's going to be close to the first down. We'll see where they mark it. I think he's got it.
It all depends on the spot. He's very close. He's within half a yard, if nothing else.
Gain of about 13. They have not, and now they do move the chains. So a first down pass, Richards to Trapiccio, and that's the first completion of the evening for the Hudson Raider passing attack, but that's the biggest spot of the night so far for him here at the passing attack.
It is, because you're not going to go for it deep in your own territory for fourth and 12. You just can't. And big play for Hudson that they're still alive.
So 1st and 10 from their own 35-yard line, and they're going to go around the left side with the run game here. It's going to be a pickup of 2 or 3 for Burgess. Actually, I think he's got 4 or 5 for Burgess there on first down. See where they mark it. So the gain of 4 out to the 39-yard line. Raiders with the manageable 2nd and 6 coming up. Clock still winding away, though. 8:48 to go here in the fourth quarter. Hudson Raiders trail it 20-7 to Rice Lake.
Well, Hudson still has all 3 timeouts. That's going to be key if they hope to engineer a comeback.
And Richards will go back into the pistol formation this time. They'll send Marvin in motion. Richards looking over to the near side. Now he throws it back in, and he's going to go down. Got to get rid of the football.
Oh, boy.
We're just not pass blocking tonight, and you got to make a decision and throw the football.
And that's been a problem. About having big losses for sacks and the inability to get the ball away. Our pass blocking has not been good. Rice Lake has had a good, consistent rush all night long. Here we are back in 3rd and long again.
So 3rd down and 13 now for Hudson. And Richards gets pulled down, and that one's not on Charlie Richards. He didn't even get to turn around, and they were yanking him down. So Christian Bell will come onto the field after a very frustrating last 2 plays for the Raider offense.
Well, and a fired-up Rice Lake defense. They were doing something right there, and the blocking scheme or whatever Hudson had that was not accounting for the linebacker blitz, or something went wrong in those last 3 plays. Boy, because Rice Lake was just walking right back into the Hudson backfield. And
well, that was a telegraph passing down, and they fired the inside linebackers through, and the Raiders they didn't have enough guys to block that many guys coming up the middle. Bell, nice long kick, going to go out of bounds actually at the 48-yard line, I believe. See where they spot it.
Madison Davis emailing in, listening in from Denver, Colorado. He said, "Let's go Raiders, defend the house." A lot of Hudson alumni tuned in, as this is homecoming, former players, former students.
Yikes, that ball went out of bounds.
Wow.
Way before I thought it did, and Rice Lake will start this drive on the Hudson Raider 44-yard line.
Time continuing to tick away. And if you're Hudson, you're going to have to go force Rice Lake 3 and out. 7.5 to go, down by 2 scores.
I think they got to get a turnover. 3 and outs, not going to do the job here. And Ashland looking to throw, looking for Postlethwaite, and nothing doing there.
Aired it out.
Reed Junko on the coverage, and he just overthrew him on that one. Coverage pretty good, pretty tight, and I think Ashland was just maybe hoping to draw a flag or something there. 2nd and 10 now coming up for Rice Lake, and as the Rice Lake statistician just kind of nodded to me, I don't think Hudson has a penalty yet tonight.
Does Hudson not have a penalty? I'm not.
No, he says no.
Okay.
He's not real happy about it. He keeps showing us replays and stuff. Come on, it's right here. 2nd and 10. Ashland goes back under center. They're in that power formation, and they will give it to the middle guy. I believe that's Jake Roberts. It's one of the Roberts. It's going to be Dylan Roberts. Dylan Roberts on the carry. Going to be a pickup of around 5 there on 2nd down.
A nice pickup, just a power play. Rice Lake not doing anything real fancy, sitting on a 2-touchdown lead, and the clock is their friend, and it's becoming friendlier as it continues to tick away, tick down. Hudson has to have a stop.
Just under 7 minutes to play. Rice Lake leads it 20-7, and they were moving into Hudson Raider territory here. They are at the 38-yard line, and they will run it up the middle. Another nice gain up the middle, and that will move the chains for Rice Lake. I believe that was Roberts, once again, Dylan Roberts on the carry.
Well, and that's another first down. More time continuing to tick off. It's stopped temporarily for the movement of chains. It'll restart here again very soon. And Hudson at some juncture has to possibly start utilizing those timeouts. They have their full 3 timeouts.
I think at this point you got to just start reaching in there and trying to knock footballs out, because if you can't get a turnover, those timeouts aren't going to do you any good at this point. And they're going to give it to Pierre. Pierre is going to pick up another 4 or 5 yards. So they're going to start probably give their guy Seacrest a little break at this time and just try to end this game with Pierre and Roberts.
Well, the key for Rice Lake at this point is just hold on to the ball, because you're absolutely right, Chris. What Hudson needs as much as anything is to force that turnover, some kind of catalyst, some kind of spark to initiate a comeback here, and those chances are becoming slimmer with each second that ticks off the clock here on the scoreboard at Newton Field.
Yeah, 2nd and 6. Now we're under 6 minutes. And Ashland's going to keep it himself around the left side. Going to be just short of the first down after a gain of around 4. We saw it last night. Now, we've talked 1st and 2nd grade football. We've talked 8th grade football. And we're talking high school football. But in professional football last night, it looked like we were heading to overtime. Kansas City had the ball, 36 seconds left to go. They handed off on what looked like a kind of a draw play to end the game. They cough up the football. Denver picks it up, takes it in, and wins this game. That they were down 17-0. They were down 24-17 with 2 minutes left and win it.
And Kansas City at home.
24. Yep, crazy game. 3rd down and 2 for Rice Lake, and Ashland's going to keep it once again around the right side this time. I think he's got it, not by much. Needed 2. I think he got about 2.5, but let's take a look at the spot.
Well, once they're figuring the spot out, we'll go into the MSBN email bag. Will Rumel, he says, ouch. He said, at least it's not soccer.
We do have a 4th down coming up. 4th down, and that's my quote of the night right there.
Want to also say hello to Autumn. This is I'm a 2nd grader at EP Rock, watching at home and cheering for the Raiders. Autumn, thank you very much for tuning in.
I love it that a 2nd grader named Autumn is watching this football game right now, and she goes to EP Rock.
Yes, right across the field here.
And we've got a timeout. It's going to be called by Rice Lake. 4th down and inches, and they're going to talk over what they're going to do here. They tried to get the Raiders to jump off sides, didn't happen, and now they're going to kind of regroup and get ready to come out. There's no way they're kicking this football, so we're definitely going to get a play for 4th down here.
Yeah. You know, I think back 2 years ago, 2013, early in the year, and Rice Lake had the game pretty much in hand, had to punt it late in the game, and I'd have to go back and look at the archives to do the specifics of it, but Hudson, it was either a bad snap or just snapped it over his head. That's what it was, and Hudson ended up forcing it in overtime and then winning it in overtime. And these teams in the last 4 years have had some really great games. And, you know, I don't know if we maybe have a fantastic finish tonight or not. I don't know. But the last 4 years have been really good, exciting games.
I feel like I'm sitting between two historians here. This guy's a statistician / historian. You seem to have a memory that just never lets go.
But I forget what day it is about half the time. But I can remember things from, years ago.
4th and inches now for the Rice Lake offense. Ashland under center. Looks like Pierre behind him, and Ashland will keep it. He's got it easily. Needed inches, got about maybe 2 or 3 yards on the carry. That will move the chains for the Warriors. 4:16. The clock is stopped momentarily, but will start once they get the football set. And as Rice Lake, they're going to spot this football just inside the 20-yard line, and I think Rice Lake's going to be more than happy just to grind this out here for the next 4 minutes. Yeah,
Hudson really had to have a stop. And now I raise the question again, at what juncture do you start using the timeouts? Brian Tyler is all smiles. He's watching from Remington, Indiana. Thanks us for the broadcast. And Brian says, go Warriors. Got some Rice Lake fans on board watching tonight as well.
And they will give it to Pierre once again. Pierre, nice run, 4 or 5 yards. Yeah, I kind of feel bad, I've been doing the Hudson Raider, the cable broadcast that's gone just to the Hudson audience for the last 7 years. So I'm a bit of a homer when it comes to Rice Lake, so I haven't gotten real excited when Rice Lake scores touchdowns. So I kind of feel bad. I know you got kind of a worldwide audience here online.
We do, yeah, literally.
But, yeah, sorry. How about this? Touchdown, Warriors!
Well, if you're a Warrior fan, you're feeling pretty good tonight. If you're a Hudson fan, you're trying to figure some way, somehow, to make up 13 points in 3.5 minutes and pull out a homecoming win. Homecoming here at Hudson. trying to somehow, some way pull this out tonight against this Rice Lake team.
2nd down and 6 now for Rice Lake, and it's going to be Ashland keeping himself wrapped up back there by the Hudson Raiders. That is Malcolm Kowalski once again. Kowalski, we'll call it? Kowalski, we'll go with that. Wrapping him up, pulling him down, short gain, 3rd down and 3 coming up now for Rice Lake as they just trying to chip away at this clock. 2:48 to go in the game. Rice Lake holding on to a 13-point lead, and they're on the doorstep here.
Yeah, and for Rice Lake, it's not even so much the goal to score. You're sitting on a 13-point lead. You just want to maintain the ball, get some more timeouts, run this thing out.
Ashland under center, Pierre behind him. They send Roberts in motion. They're going to fake it to Pierre, now kick it out to Roberts. And Roberts is going to be pushed out of bounds, and that helps Hudson. No, they're going to keep the clock rolling.
How on earth could you keep the clock rolling?
So they say he stopped his forward momentum, and they keep the clock rolling. 2:12, and now Hudson will call a timeout to stop it.
You're going to have to.
So 2:12 to go in the game. It's going to be 4th down and about 3 here for Rice Lake. Coach Adam Cowles will call timeout and try to give the Hudson Raider defense one more opportunity to stop Rice Lake on 4th down and hopefully get your offense back on the field with an opportunity to get back into this football game.
Yeah, you know, it's going to have to be a perfect storm scenario at this juncture, but, you know, I've seen stranger things happen, and maybe there's some magic on this rainy homecoming night here at Newton Field, and you know, these two rivals, and Rice Lake coming in 4-0, Hudson yet to win here in 2015, and this game, if Hudson ends up going down in this game, it's looking like right now they're going to have to run the table to get into the playoffs for the 5th straight year, to go 4-3 in conference, and you know, it can be done, but that's, you know, thinking down the road. I know we got Chippewa Falls, an undefeated Chippewa Falls team. At least they're potentially going to come in undefeated. They're beating River Falls tonight.
So 4th down and 3 now for the Rice Lake offense. This is the last opportunity. Raiders need to get a stop, and they're going to give it to Seacrest, and Seacrest makes a move, slips out of a tackle. I think he's going to be short, but it's going to be close.
All depends on the spot, you know. And Chris, you said it before, but it bears repeating. Hudson really has done a good job, for the most part, shutting down Isaiah Seacrest.
I think they're well short. If you look at where they are, where the markers are on the far side of the field, I think they're short by a yard. And it'll be 1st down Hudson. So the Raiders will get the football back. 2:02 to go, down by 13. But as they say in poker, you just need a chip and a chair. That's about what the Raiders have, is a chip and a chair. But 2:02 to go, down by 13. They're on their about 11-yard line. They got to make something happen. They got to make it happen fast.
And unfortunately, Hudson is not what you'd call a quick strike team. That's really not what they're all about. But they're going to have to turn into one like now, because they've got 2 minutes and 2 seconds away from a homecoming loss here. And let's see what Charlie Richards and company can do.
Richards will start under center. They're going to pitch it out to Jagger Marvin. Marvin's going to pick up about 3 or 4. And once again, they're trying to stretch it to the outside, but they keep doing it to the short side of the field.
And precious seconds ticking off there, and that's a lot of time to give up for
gain of 4 or 5.
A few yards.
So gain of 4 for Marvin on 1st down. Clock ticking, 1:40 to go. Raiders down 13. Got to make something happen. Richards back to pass this time. He's got some time. Throws it across the middle. Has a completion, but again, not many yards. 2 or 3 yard completion. Throwing it out there for Joe Gallardi.
And that's just not going to get it done. You got to move the ball downfield. You got to work the sidelines and make up bunches of yards in a short amount of time.
At least get the 1st down to stop the clock when they move the chains, and that's going to be incomplete. 3rd down and 4. That time the Raider offense looking for Sam Carney, and it'll be incomplete. 4th and 4 coming up. Definitely going for it here. 4th down and 4. Got to make it happen, or I think Rice Lake can come out and grind down the rest of this clock.
Stay tuned for the MSBN post-game show. We'll have some scores from other games, particularly the Big Rivers Conference games. Recap this one and call it a night.
So 4th and 4, Richards under pressure, and he's going to go down, and Rice Lake will take over on downs. And That time, the Rice Lake linebacker came around the edge untouched, and that was Roberts. And Roberts has done his damage on offense, and that time finishes it off on defense.
He has. We've definitely heard the name Roberts called many times tonight, both sides of the ball. Big play by Rice Lake, and now all you got to do is sit on it, run the clock out, and if you're a Warrior fan, you're feeling pretty good. You came in against a Hudson team that's been struggling this year, but it is homecoming here at Hudson, and you're going to come away with a hard-fought, well-earned win.
1:05 left to play. The Raiders do have 2 timeouts. We'll see if they use them. And Rice Lake is actually going to call a timeout as the play clock was winding down. They didn't get their offense onto the field fast enough, so they call a timeout to avoid getting that delay of game penalty here in this spot.
And Chris, we're just waiting for some more score updates to come in, and hopefully we can get them here, particularly the Menominee Superior game, which I'm very surprised. I thought from what I saw with Menominee last week and the outstanding game they played against Hudson, and Superior getting beaten pretty badly by Chippewa Falls at home, but Superior really recovered nicely, and at last time we checked, they held a 28-20 lead over Menominee. That was, I believe, in the fourth quarter. We'll see if we can get an update here on that one. And Chippewa Falls winning big tonight. Eau Claire Memorial holding a 7-point lead over North last time we checked in the Battle of Eau Claire. In a game you can see here on MSBN tonight. Also over in the Minnesota, the Rosemont Irish continue their undefeated season with a 20-6 win over the Egan Wildcats.
So 1:05 here to go as the Rice Lake offense comes back onto the field, trying to close out this victory, and they will run it up the middle. I believe that was Pierre. Yep, it was Pierre, and he picks up about 5 yards as the clock now rolling, 53 seconds to go, and I don't think Coach Adam Cowell is going to use those timeouts because he just wants to get out of here at this point.
Thanks to our friends here at Rice Lake. We did have that score update you've been looking for. It's 28-28 up in Superior. The defending conference champion Superior Spartans, the undefeated Menominee Mustangs, number 2 ranked in Division II, battling it out up north at NBC Field, Superior.
Joe Labuda's not going down that easy.
Yeah.
So now Rice Lake will bring out the victory formation. 20 seconds to go, and unless Coach Cowles calls a timeout, this is going to do it. And that should do it. So clock rolling. This is going to be a victory for Rice Lake tonight, 20-7 over your Hudson Raiders, and Rice Lake will improve to 3-0 in the Big Rivers Conference, 5-0 overall. Your Hudson Raiders this evening will fall to 0-3 in the Big Rivers Conference, 0-4 overall, and it's a spot that nobody here is conditioned to seeing, at least lately.
Well, it isn't. We've done a lot more winning than losing here in Hudson in recent years. We're struggling right now. This loss drops us to 0-4. 4th straight loss at home. 2nd straight loss to the Rice Lake Warriors. We lost 56-54 in a wild one up in Rice Lake last year. So it's been a tough start to the 2015 campaign. If you're a Raider, no doubt about it. There was some hope that with homecoming, homecoming game and whatnot, that we would be able to turn things around. The opening drive looked good. Yeah. You're expecting good things, and when Hudson went up 7-0 defensively, I think Hudson played a very good game. Limiting a team. Just to put this into perspective again, this is a Rice Lake team that came into this game averaging 62 points a game. They put 75 points up last week, and the Hudson Raiders held them to 20, 42 points less than their average. And when you lose, you have to look for the small victories, and that's definitely I don't think that's a small victory. I think that's a big victory, even though they lost the game. And one of those scores was when the muffed punt, where Rice Lake started in the
28-yard line.
28-yard line on a short field, hit Hudson on a big pass play on the first on the first play and capitalized on it on a short field. Offensively, Hudson really has some work to do. They'd be what I saw tonight outside of that first drive as a team that really couldn't pass the ball, became very predictable. The offensive line needs to improve. The pass blocking was not there, and the times they tried to go through the air, Charlie Richards had a tough night. Dayton Demel had some good success early, but in the second half, really didn't do much. Nick Holmes, same thing. They're gonna have to do some work on this offense. You got Eau Claire Memorial on the road next week, and you have to run the table at this point if you want to go to the playoffs. Right now, they're just looking for a win.
Yeah, Rice Lake so far this season, 49, 73, 46, 75, and now 20 points here tonight. So definitely the Hudson Raiders did a number on that offense, but they got enough to get the win. Both these teams kind of on opposite tracks, though, and we talked about the Raiders are going to need to run the table. We kind of look at both of these teams. Rice Lake undefeated, but they're really going to start moving into the meat of this schedule. They got Menominee next week at home, which is going to be just an incredible game. Then they've got Superior at home. They'll travel to Eau Claire Memorial, and then they'll host Chippewa Falls. So they got three of the big dogs coming up on their schedule. Now for the Hudson Raiders, the schedule has been really tough so far. They started out with Arrowhead, and they played Superior, Menominee last week, Rice Lake this week. It's going to get a little bit easier. You still got Chippewa Falls. You still got Eau Claire Memorial on the schedule. Both those teams are very good. Then down the stretch, they've got a couple games that if they play well, they can get some wins. So they got to steal the next couple and get themselves in a spot where maybe they'll get a chance to put themselves in a playoff position. But I think right now for Coach Adam Cowles, we're not going to look down the schedule.
No.
We're going to look next week at Eau Claire Memorial. We're heading over to Carson Park. Got to win. I mean, we've put all the eggs in the basket. We got to win next week.
Absolutely. I kind of reflect back on where, Jim Moore, they're asking him, the Colts had gotten beat by, so this is quite a few years ago now, and somebody mentions playoffs, and he says, playoffs? That clip we've all seen 1,000 times, know. And I think that's probably where Coach Cowles is right now. I said, I don't even talk about playoffs. We just need to win a game.
Yep.
We need to, we're 0-4. Our offense is struggling. 7 points tonight, 14 points last week, and quite frankly, 7 of that came in the fourth quarter against a Menominee defense that had pulled several of their key starters. 7 points the week before against Superior. That's not going to get it done. I don't care if your defense plays outstanding. 7 points isn't going to win a whole lot of football games. A lot of work to do. The offense, particularly the line play. Charlie Richards did not have a good night tonight. Dayton Demel had a good first half, but wasn't much of a factor in the second half. Hats off to the defense. They did a good job. The offense, a lot of work to do. It's onward and upward. Going over to Eau Claire Memorial, over to Carson Park next week. They've done very well against Eau Claire Memorial. 4-0 against 5-0 against Eau Claire Memorial the last 5 games we've played, including 2 playoff games. So we've had some pretty good success against Memorial. But
those have been barn burners too.
They have. We've had some exciting games against Memorial, but. It's tough to lose on your home field for the 4th straight time, particularly on homecoming. But you can't just hang your head. You got half a season to go. The schedule I think is turning more in their favor, like you say, Chris. Go on the road next week. You can get a win over at Carson Park. You come in here back home 2 weeks from now against a Chippewa Falls team that very well might come in undefeated. They're going to win tonight against River Falls, and I think next week, if I'm not mistaken, I think Chippewa Falls plays Eau Claire North. Which is a very winnable game, and they might come in here, 7-0 or 6-0, excuse me. But that's a couple weeks from now. Tough loss for Hudson, and you just got to suck it up, improve some things, and see what you can do better next week.
Hey, did you want to go into that scoreboard, or do you feel good where we are right now?
I do. Well, we're going into the scoreboard. Of course, we got Superior Menominee tied up 28-28, 7 minutes left over there. See if we can get an update from the from Carson Park with the Eau Claire Memorial and Eau Claire North game. I know Memorial was up by 7 at one time there, but it's tough. Chris, and I want to thank you for coming on board. We had some last minute personnel changes. Of course, you called all these years and gone into retirement, gone on to other things with other ventures you're involved with. So I was glad that you were able to step on board and cover in. We'll have Joe Moore back next week as we head over to Eau Claire Memorial. And, still a nice night here in terms of the weather wasn't real good, and, of course, we got a loss, but it was a nice festive homecoming-type feel, a nice crowd on hand tonight. Unfortunately for your Hudson Raider fan, you come away with another loss.
Yeah, it was a really competitive game. It was 20-7, but it was a game that was tight and still really, the Raiders had a chance to get back into it with just a few minutes left to go. I mean, this wasn't a blowout, and I think a lot of people, when they looked at the records of both these teams coming into this game, they thought it very well could be a blowout because Rice Lake has been putting so many points up and been blowing so many people out. I think the conditions certainly helped Hudson, but you still got to make the tackles. You still got to be in the right spot. And you talked a little bit about the Hudson Raider defense. You know, from what I saw against a couple different games that I've seen, they still get a little bit lost in coverage, but they did a fantastic job tonight defending the run. The defensive line did a wonderful job. And the corners, anytime they try to come around the corners didn't miss any tackles tonight. So
they did.
You got to give them credit for that. Yep. They didn't let Seacrest do what he's done to so many teams so far this year.
Excellent. Really a good job by the defense. And Coach Hatfield and some other coordinators just walked out of here, and definitely want to give props to them. The offense not as much, but I think as a Hudson broadcaster and a Hudson Raider fan, it's tough for these losses and to look at the standings and see you on the bottom of the conference at 0-4 because Our record against Big Rivers Conference teams, and since we started doing this, since MSBN started doing the Hudson broadcasting, coming into this season against Big Rivers Conference teams is 26-4, and we've already lost 3 games. So we've lost 75% of the games in the first 3 weeks of the season that we lost in 4 seasons. Mm-hmm. So that's tough, and I'm saying that as much to myself as anybody else. That every year is different personnel, different set of challenges. Hudson probably the talent level isn't this year what it's been in the past. I still think we're going to win some football games, but it's a team that's struggling right now.
Yeah, when I first started broadcasting, it was right about 2000. And I was given the opportunity to go down to Milwaukee and take this broadcasting seminar with Jim Powell, who had been through the system calling these baseball games and was calling a Milwaukee Brewer team that just was not very good. And he always said, if you can call a game with a team that doesn't win, you can do anything because calling a game for a winning team is really easy to do. So hopefully it's not something that you're in a position to have to do much longer, but it's tough. I mean, it's tough on the coaches. It's tough on the fans. It's tough on the players. It's tough on the broadcasters. We all want to win. We all want to have fun, but sometimes it just takes work to get there. And not saying these guys aren't doing work, but sometimes you just don't have it. And so far from what it looks like, they've got some work to do and got some stuff to get to get to where they were not too long ago and where they want to be.
Yeah, I agree, and I want to give hats off to Rice Lake. This is a good football team coming in ranked number 2 in Division III, now 5-0, and they have a big game at home against Menominee, and we're going to see if we can get video coverage on that one with our partners here at the Rice Lake radio station. So we're also here tonight. JT Kozer to my left, wrapping it up for the Rice Lake radio stations, and even if Menominee loses tonight, they're in a tough battle against Superior. That's good. That's a big game. But getting back to Hudson, you just have to put this behind you. You can't have a second win until you have a first win. Right. And you go on the road, play a Memorial team that I think we can play with, and then get your first win of the year, and you come back here 2 weeks from now against a good Chippewa Falls team and see if we can get a better outcome. Yeah.
So we got these other teams across the river. We got some big games. What happened to the Vikings on Monday night? Let's talk a little pro football here.
Before we run, and I'm a Packer fan. You're a Packer fan as well, I assume.
No, I'm not.
You're a Viking fan.
No. I grew up, the first football game I ever saw, okay? I was in a bowling alley in, Pewaukee, Wisconsin. Okay? John Elway, The Drive.
I remember that.
I was, I think, about 11 years old. I saw that, and that's my guy right there. That's my guy.
Yeah.
And I had to sit there and watch these guys get destroyed in Super Bowl after Super Bowl. Finally won. But it was cool watching that game last night for me. But, man, the Vikings, a lot of talk this year. They were going to be back. They were going to be a good team and just got drilled. And tough game coming up here against Detroit.
Well, it is. They're back home. And, you want to talk about a team not playing well, 20-3. 0-1, and Peterson did, they had 31 yards. I know there's a lot of talk about him being back and Bridgewater and whatnot. But if you're a Viking fan, you're not off to a good start. Packer fan, you had a pretty good win. Big game Sunday night against Seattle. So we'll get through college tomorrow and NFL on Sunday.
So go Pack, go Vikings on Sunday. For camera guy John Reed, I'm Chris Larson. He's John Wecken. Joe Moore will take the show back next week. You won't have to deal with me anymore. But thanks for watching. Good luck to the Raiders the rest of the season, and maybe someday I'll get to step back. It was a lot of fun coming out of retirement for one game, so thanks.